Yo, what's good, YouTube? Welcome back to another episode of the Shooter Straight Podcast. It's your co-host Zach.
I'm our co-host G.
Welcome back to episode 39. First and foremost, once again, like always, we just wanted to thank y'all for all the continued support we've been getting on all social media platforms on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram. We've been running it up on every platform, growing. We've been dropping a lot of new types of content recently, and it's been doing very well. So we appreciate the continued support. We've been continuing to gain subscribers. We've been getting more engagement with comments. So we appreciate it. We want y'all to continue doing that on this episode and future content we put out. Comment down below what you think about anything we say on this episode, and I'll pass it off to G for what he wants to say.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we want to thank all you guys for all your continued support, liking the reels, liking the news that Zach's able to deliver to you guys. He does a lot of shit and constantly camps this stuff. So he wants to push it out there to bring it to you guys, because we think it helps feed into the episode because these are end up becoming topics that we talk about. So if you like the content, we wouldn't be supposed to you hitting the like button and while you're down there, the subscribe button is right there. It's free. You can hit it. We are currently at what are we at 570? You said
573.
573. So we're getting close to 600, and it's constantly joyous for us to see it always go up a little by little every day.
Yeah, and what I will say is that this is the final episode that we're going to go ahead and talk about the 500 subscriber giveaway we've been talking about for like 2-3 episodes now.
We've been trying our hardest to get the final. What are we? Final two. We need two.
Yeah. So this is the final
We just need
episode
two.
that we're going to have this because we're about to hit 600 now, so it's kind of past due. But in the comments of this episode, comment down below what you think about anything we talk about, our opinions. Are we wrong? Are we right? Did we make any good points? Let us know in the comments down below, and put your Instagram handle, and then you might just win the Amazon gift. I mean, not might. You probably will.
Dude, you win it. I guess please. We just need 5 so we can just give them away, please, for love of Christ.
Obviously, hit the subscribe button as well because it is subscriber giveaway. But I think without further ado, we can go ahead and get into what we got planned here.
Yeah, then what a opening topic we have, and let me just be the one to introduce this because it brings me great joy. There's little things in life that make me happy nowadays, and this will be one of them. Chelsea had an absolute stinker today. They put out a piss poor performance, and who else better to question about and have what? I want to hear what you have to say about what Chelsea did today.
Graham Potter, it's time to go. It is time for Graham Potter to leave the club. You should not wait one more day. He needs to leave the club tomorrow. Any longer we go on with Graham Potter as manager is a wasted time. The players do not respect Graham Potter. They do not fight for the badge. They do not fight for the manager. Graham Potter has brought no tactics, no footballing ideology, no vision. There is nothing positive that has happened to Chelsea since we've appointed Graham Potter. Now, I will say there are other problems within the club that I'm going to get into, but I have noticed one thing about Graham Potter, and that there is no future with Graham Potter. I think you could fix every other problem about Chelsea, and if you still have Graham Potter as manager, there's still a big problem. I do not think you can win any trophy in club football with Graham Potter. I don't think you're winning the FA Cup. I don't think you're winning the League Cup. You're not winning the Community Shield even. You're definitely not winning the Premier League. And you are so far away from winning the UEFA Champions League, it's not even funny. And if you are going to be the manager of Chelsea Football Club, you are expected to deliver these trophies. And I think you cut your losses with Graham Potter right now because there is no point in having a manager that cannot deliver you the trophies in the long run. Obviously, you are not going to win anything this season. We'll be lucky to make the Conference League right now, the way we've been playing right now. But there is no point in keeping Graham Potter for the long term and buying into his footballing vision or whatever he says he has, because right now I don't see a vision, when I think even if we get the proper signings, we fix up the board and the management with that, which I'm going to get into, I don't think Graham Potter is the guy to lead this club to trophies. And that's what is expected at Chelsea Football Club. This is a club that wins trophies. We win the Premier League. We win FA Cups. We win trophies not only continentally, but in Europe. And Graham Potter is not the guy to do that. The players do not believe in him.
Wait, I want to interject just a little bit so we don't get too much. I have to play devil's advocate to support a little bit of Graham Potter because this is a little bit of a switch of your tune. What we were both even saying last episode that we think Graham Potter maybe needs a little time. But what can you what can really Graham Potter do with the personnel he has? I think it's more of a personnel issue and a bit of a Todd Bowley issue, because the root of this, I mean, who wanted Potter in the first place? Todd Bowley. This is the owner that's making. He gave himself the most important job other than a player
That's
in the club, and
that's
that's
exactly what I'm going to talk
executive of
about.
football.
Exactly
Executive
what I'm going to talk
football.
about.
Before letting you get into that, it's just I think the personnel that Chelsea have right now are just not good enough.
I agree
I
with
mean,
that.
I think like you've texted me this. Sir Alex Ferguson could be here. You could have Sir Alex and then Pep Guardiola as his assistant. You're not going to get anything from this lineup. You're still playing Aspley-Quetta
Yeah.
at right back, and Willian, who literally went to Brazil to retire and came back, is slapping you up.
No, I agree.
It's unacceptable.
You're right.
It's unacceptable.
You're right.
So I don't think it's as much of a Todd Bowley issue, but I'll let you continue. I respect it. Someone has to get the blame. Someone has to get blamed for this. And you can't, unfortunately, as much as every Chelsea fan would like to, you can't just cut every player. You can't just cut them all.
Yeah.
As much as it's almost do like, you just reset the game. You sell all these guys. They're all trash, pathetic, but I'll let you continue.
I just don't know how many pathetic performances we have to see before we realize Graham Potter is out of his depth at a club like this. This is one of the biggest clubs in the world, and he's coming from. And the reason he got this job in the first place is because he overachieved at Brighton. He got Brighton into the top half of the table, pushing for top 6, but they didn't even get. That's the reason he got this job. Chelsea is not a job that a non-proven manager can come into. You need guys that have European pedigree, that have won trophies elsewhere, that come to Chelsea with that pedigree. The players believe in him, and they actually buy into the system. I mean, look, Thomas Tuchel, when he came into the job, he was coming fresh off of winning League One, the season prior, and coming off of a Champions League final defeat. So even though he didn't win the Champions League, you have pedigree. He did it at Dortmund. He did it at PSG. He succeeded, and he actually elevated the players. We actually have a lot of the players that Potter now has were there with Tuchel, and they performed better under Tuchel because he elevates players. The tactics that he plays, he played those tactics to elevate the players. You remember Chelsea under Tuchel, they were not good in attack. However, strong midfield and strong defensively, you could not really break down Chelsea. Some called it anti-football, but I called it winning football. With Potter, we're supposed to be getting free-flowing, attacking football, change the scenery of what Chelsea is, and we have a shit attack, shit midfield, shit defense. We've went from having two phases good to none.
I don't know what type of philosophy of football he's trying to pose. I don't really see a possession style base. I don't see a counter-attacking style football.
I don't see.
I don't know
what is the vision?
I don't know what I'm watching to be
There's
quite
no
frank.
vision.
I don't know what I'm watching.
And it's not all on Graham Potter. This squad is not good, and that's what I'm going to get into. Along with Todd Bowley, there's an issue there as well. But like I originally said, I think even if you fix these two issues and you still have Graham Potter as the manager, you give him more world-class players, I don't think he's the guy that can lead them to trophies. I don't think he's a leader of men at this level. He can lead a Brighton side and play good football there and win some games against the top 6 and ultimately do quite well in the Premier League with Brighton or a club of that stature. But to be the manager of a team that's competing for the Champions League, competing to win the league, I don't think Potter is that guy. And when you're Chelsea, there is no point in having a manager if you don't think he can win these trophies. There's no point, especially when you have guys currently available that can win those trophies, I feel like. And I'm not saying this guy would come to Chelsea, but there's guys like Zinedine Zidane available. I don't think he would come to Chelsea at the moment. I don't blame him, but he's available. If I'm Todd Bowley, give him the blank checkbook, whatever wages you want. Zidane, come to the club. I'd get on my knees. But even on a lesser extent, Mauricio Pochettino, Luis Enrique, there's guys available with pedigree.
I understand that, but I feel like even if you got a Zidane, I mean, to be fair, Zidane did unthinkable things at Real Madrid. He won the Champions League 3 times in a row, and then came back and won a La Liga title. But the personnel was perfect. Like Zidane could be put on this team, but I don't think Zidane's going to change Kai Havertz into
I agree.
Johan Cruyff.
But what I'm saying is those problems are going to get fixed eventually.
But
But
how are you
even if
so
you fix those
certain?
problems,
Yeah,
because
but how are you
it's
so
only
certain?
a matter of
Let's
time.
just say who is someone Chelsea are like highly like, let's say Nkunku gets into the club next season like he's supposed to,
He's going to,
and
yeah.
he's going to, and he has this revolution under Potter. I mean, Potter hasn't even had a chance to play with the players that are already set to sign with the club.
How many signings does he need?
Well, he needs something because what else have
No.
they given? They've given him defenders. They've given him 5 defenders when literally they could assign every defender in the league, every defender in Europe. It's not going to fix what they have. They're going to get scored on by Fulham.
I actually think keeping Graham Potter and giving him another transfer window could be one of the most catastrophic mistakes in Chelsea Football Club history. I really think that could be the case. I think it'd be a catastrophic error of all proportions to give Graham Potter another transfer window because of this reason. Like I said before, I don't think
has he been given. He's only been given what, a January transfer window.
Well, and then yeah, technically speaking,
technically, so I just don't think it's a fair enough time. I think you give him one actual summer transfer window, just one. Because I knocked over my mic, but I think you literally just give him one because I think it's way too soon because it's a personnel issue other than the manager. The manager is trying. I think there's only so much a manager can do, but when you're coaching a team that's built for somebody else and you're taking it secondhand, this is not a Potter team. This is not a Graham Potter team yet. So I think you have to give them time. I think it's way too soon, but you can believe what you want to believe.
I just think the reason why it would be such a catastrophic error is because of the reasoning, like I said before. I don't think he can lead us to trophies. He might be eventually at a certain point, he might be a manager that leads you to a consistent top 4, maybe. Where you're getting 3rd or 4th place consistently. And if that's the level that we want to be at forever under Todd Bowley, then you keep Graham Potter. But I'm expecting to win trophies, compete with the highest echelon of football. And I don't think Graham Potter is going to be able to do that. And it's just unfortunate that he took this job because I don't think Chelsea is a job for a guy like a Graham Potter with no proven European pedigree at this level to take. I think it's a job a Pochettino takes, and a Luis Enrique takes, a Zidane takes. It needs that type of manager. And I mean, if you just look at what Potter has done, and albeit the squad is not good and, whatever, but it's a good enough squad to beat the teams that we're losing to. Can you agree with that? I mean, how many 100 million players do you need to beat Fulham?
You shouldn't need a lot.
You shouldn't need a lot.
You shouldn't need any. You shouldn't need any.
That doesn't mean that they're really good. It doesn't mean anything. But you would expect with the players that Chelsea have that they would be good enough to beat a Nottingham Forest, beat a Fulham. I'm not saying beat Liverpool, even though they're not good this season. Beat Arsenal. Can you at least beat these trash teams? How many big signings, how many big names do you need to beat some of these teams that we're losing to at the moment? I understand the squad is bad, but it's not this bad to be competing for relegation. Since October 18th, no side in the whole Premier League has won fewer games than Chelsea. We're the worst team in the league since October 18th. We're 10th place at the moment. We're 10th points clear of relegation. We're 19 points away from Arsenal. That's a disgrace. 7 losses out of our last 9. And under Graham Potter as a whole, 19 matches played, 8 wins, 4 draws, and 7 losses. It's not good enough. And you can say it's a small sample size, and you can say that there's other problems. But when you look at what Chelsea Football Club is, it's a club that is expecting to be at the highest level, winning Champions Leagues, every now and then. We've won 2 in our history, 2 in the last 20 years. We went 2011, and then now, was it 2021? So in that, what is it? That's a 10-year span. We win one about every 10 years, it looks like. Something like that.
One every 10 years.
I don't think that's going to be done under Graham Potter. So I think, what's the point in keeping him? If I don't feel like you can win any trophy with them, there's no point in keeping him. Cut your losses. Let him go manage a new team that he can build under. And we are just wasting time by not going to get a different guy. We're like, someone's going to pick up Pochettino. Somebody's going to get Luis Enrique. It's not going to be us if we wait any longer.
Okay. That's fair. I mean, Luis Enrique is a proven manager. I mean, Pochettino, who knows if he'd be willing to, but he's out there, and obviously Zidane is out there as well.
But it's not all on Graham Potter. Look, I think he has to go for the reasons why I stated. But that's only one issue with Chelsea Football Club at the moment. And you hinted at this being an issue. It's kind of not. It shouldn't be an issue too much anymore per se, but it remains to be seen because we're continuing to see bad signings. The recruitment at Chelsea Football Club is absolutely piss poor. Anyone with a brain could do better recruitment with the amount of money Chelsea spends on transfers than what they actually do. And I think one of the biggest mistakes in footballing history was Todd Bowley appointing himself as director of football of Chelsea Football Club. Being the head of recruitment, that is the biggest disgrace in footballing history. He was so out of his depth. This is a guy who went from baseball, Major League Baseball. He wins one World Series with the Los Angeles Dodgers, and he buys Chelsea and thinks all of a sudden he can be like FIFA career mode and be the guy who's leading recruitment for Chelsea Football Club. He is so out of his depth. The signings that he has been responsible for have been absolutely disgraceful. Should I read the list?
You got a list? Go. Let's hear it. Let's hear this list.
Fofana, 71 million. He's been injured. However, what I will say, even if he's been fit, not worth 71 million. He's not worth that much.
Yeah, absolutely not. Disgusting.
Mark Cucurella, 58 million for that. This guy is one of the worst fullbacks I've ever seen. Absolutely terrible. I can't think of one good thing he does. One good thing. And this is him under Graham Potter, who he had with Brighton. You would expect some kind of continuity. Something like, okay, they have continuity together. He should be able to play well under this system, whatever the system is. And it's not the case. I don't know what the system is, but Cucurella isn't playing well in it. Raheem Sterling, 50 million. I've been heavily.
I thought that was a bad signing when it got announced. I told you that I thought that was bad.
I've scrutinized this signing. I think Sterling is still a quality player. However, Chelsea Football Club as a club has been so piss poor that they've made Sterling worse. He hasn't had the ability to succeed in this team. He's good enough to be on a Premier League winning side. We just saw it at Manchester City for all of those runs. He's good enough to be a part of a Premier League winning side. He could be a guy.
He could be on the roster.
He's not the guy, but he could be a guy that can help contribute to that. And we've made him look like an abysmal footballer ever since he's joined Chelsea. And I think part of that is because of the players around him. He's not able to succeed like he did in Manchester City. But I think that's looking like a bad signing. He hasn't performed like we thought he would for 50 million since he joined.
Kind of overpaid, yeah.
Koulibaly. I thought this was going to be a good signing. He's been absolutely shocking, terrible. He scores every now and then to make up for it. Like today, we thought that would be the goal that maybe got us a point. But that covers up the fact that he was an absolute disaster today and in previous games for Chelsea. I have never seen a guy go from world class in one league, and then he comes in, and we think he's going to continue that same form that we've seen in Europe and also in Serie A. And he comes to Chelsea, and he's been absolute piss poor. This is not the same Koulibaly we thought we were getting. This is not the Koulibaly who has been linked to pretty much every club in Europe the last 3 years. Chelsea finally gets him for 34 million, and he turns out to be absolutely shocking. And then we just got this one over the line. Badiashile, 34 million. Remains to be seen. But that's still 34 million spent. Remains to be seen how well or bad it was of a signing. Aubameyang, 11 million. Jesus. It's one of the. It's on the cheaper end, but it's basically 11 million pissed away down the drain. I mean, a shocking, disgraceful signing.
And we're not even taking into account the wages that some of these players demand.
This is because just transfer fees.
I mean, I'm not even sure even if you have it on a list. I mean, it's so recent, but the João Felix deal. I even thought that deal. I'll let you get into it before I have any say about it though.
João Felix loan deal was the next on the list. 11 million for the loan, for a 6-month loan. That's how desperate Todd Bowley is. We're paying 11 million for a 6-month loan, and may I add, now we're pissing away 2.1 million of this 11 million because he's suspended for 3 games because he got the red card today. We pissed away $2 million, and then we wonder why we can't afford Enzo Fernandez's release clause. Like, you got to put two and two together here. We're so desperate. Todd Bowley is so desperate that he's spending $11 million on this loan.
I don't think you didn't write down that João Felix has a tremendous wage. I think his wage is like what two? I believe it's in the 200s.
Oh my god!
I'll look it up. You continue while I look it up.
What I'll say about João Felix before we move on to the rest of the last two on the list. João Felix was one of the best players on the pitch today for Chelsea, and that's not saying much. But when he was able to actually play before the red card, he was a bright spot. But we're only getting him for a 6-month loan, now pretty much a 5-month loan because he's suspended for 3 games. It's so desperate from Chelsea. And it's sad that this is the guy that looking like our best attacker. And in 6 months from now, he's going to be gone. He's going to go back to Atletico Madrid.
His wages are over 250,000 a week. And now you'll be paying those wages while he's suspended.
And then
it's just bad business. There's a reason why Arsenal didn't get him. There's a reason why Manchester United did not get him, because I bet they were offered a similar type of loan deal, but they turned it down.
The only way you
it's not worth it.
The only way you do this is if you have guarantees that you sign him for the long term, if it works out. And I think from what I've seen just from this 58 minutes that João Felix, he could be successful in the Premier League, but he's going to revitalize his career, potentially turn into good form again, just to go back to Atletico Madrid, play under a new manager, rumored to be Luis Enrique, an attacking manager. He's going to become a good player for Atletico Madrid because of this loan.
And that will be the problem,
Atletico Madrid are not paying his wages, and they're going to get a revitalized João Felix. They've won this deal. I mean, what a deal it was for them. Basically, they finessed us. So then another loan deal, $8 million for the season loan of Dennis Zakaria. It's $8 million for a loan. I think he's been one of the best midfielders of our team right now, which is not saying much. There's not much negative to say about it per se. Potter didn't give him as much of an opportunity as he deserves, but that's neither here nor there. He's finally starting to get that a little bit. And then the final one on the list, Nkunku, who's going to come in next summer, the next window, for $63 million. And this is the crazy part. Out of everyone on this list, Fofana, Cucurella, Sterling, Koulibaly, Badiashile, Aubameyang, João Felix, Zakaria, and then Nkunku, this is all the players Todd Bowley has brought into the club. I think you can make the argument there's only one quality player on this list. And that's Nkunku, who's not even with the team yet.
He's not here yet.
The only quality player on the whole list, Nkunku, and he's not even with the team until next season.
Yeah, and I mean they paid more for Fofana than Nkunku. That's a deal. That's a bargain right there. To get Nkunku for $65 million, he's 25, getting him right before his prime.
I feel like the one good move Chelsea did was getting Nkunku done before this disaster class of a season that we've seen so far, because they locked in that signing. And now he is confirmed, like he can't back out of it now. I think that he would want to back out of it now. I'm sure that he would love to go to a different club.
Just fail the medical.
I mean, I guess he could do that. But I don't think we would have signed Nkunku if we had waited. So I'm glad we did it when we did, because now we at least get him, and we're going to get him to go to the Europa Conference League. You know, woohoo! We're going to have Nkunku in the Conference League.
That's good.
So between Graham Potter and how piss poor he's been, Todd Bowley and his recruitment being so piss poor as well, there's one final piece to the puzzle for Chelsea Football Club and why we have been so utterly abysmal this season. And that's the other players in the squad, the rest of the players. And you've criticized me before for not criticizing these players enough. So I've compiled a list of players that are not good enough to wear the shirt of Chelsea Football Club.
You're going to name the whole roster here. Okay, let's go. Let's see what you got.
First on the list, Kepa Arrizabalaga. This guy is not good enough to wear the Chelsea Football Club shirt ever again. He should never play another second for Chelsea Football Club. He should never. First of all, he cost us the game today against Fulham. We were still poor.
I saw that.
But he cost us the game because of his inability to collect a cross. Vinicius had a free header, wide open goal because Kepa was shit. And then against Manchester City, he literally, Jack Grealish played a cross right in front of him that he didn't collect. Riyad Mahrez and Jack Grealish said after the game that they were joking about. They couldn't believe Kepa didn't get the cross. That's how bad it was. And this is only two mistakes out of a super long list of Kepa Arrizabalaga mistakes in a Chelsea Football Club shirt. He had a little bit of a run of form where he was kind of playing well, but it's over. I don't want to see this man in the Chelsea Football Club shirt again. It's time to go. With Graham Potter, get out. It's time to go. Cut your losses.
Not even to mention he's I think the highest the highest transfer fee for a goalkeeper in Premier League
of all
history.
time.
Of all time, was
Of all
it?
time, I think. Yeah, I think it was all time.
Because he was like 70 plus, 70 odd to 80.
After it was half of
after a
season.
decent season, after like
half
a mediocre season.
Next on the list, Cesar Azpilicueta.
Oh God,
Azpilicueta, you are ruining your Chelsea legacy if you play any longer. And it's sad because in his prime, such a quality player for Chelsea, but he's so past it. It's absolutely shameful. This guy got absolutely skinned alive by Willian today. Skinned alive. Willian 6 months ago was playing in Brazil on his way to retire. This man was about to retire in Brazil. He comes to Fulham and he skins Azpilicueta, sends him packing. An absolutely disgraceful performance today from Azpilicueta. He's only ruining his legacy by staying any longer. He should not play another minute. Protect his legacy because in his prime, what a player he was. But he's so past it. Any Premier League winger can get past Cesar Azpilicueta. He's a liability. If you start Azpilicueta, because right now we're kind of forced to per se because of injury.
you have no right back.
And that's another issue. I mean, how could you not have a proper right back? You make all these signings, you don't have a right back, a backup right back.
You signed a bunch of center backs, but no right back. But
every time Azpilicueta plays, it's 10 versus 11. That's what it is. You're starting off a man down. Next on the list, I mentioned him before, Koulibaly. I think out of everyone on this list, he's the guy I give a little bit of benefit of the doubt to. I still think he's been poor this season, but I'm willing to give him an opportunity with the next manager, hopefully, and let's see if he can figure it out. Because I think on paper, he can be a quality player. He's proven it just 6 months ago when he was playing in Napoli. And he's been somewhat decent at some points for Chelsea, but there's been a lot of poor moments. But not, I would say right now, this season, he hasn't been good enough, but I think he might be able to figure it out. I give him a little bit more leeway than some of the other guys. Next on the list, Trevoh Chalobah. Oh my God.
Trevoh Chalobah.
This guy, Chalobah, is living off of the start he had when he first started playing for Chelsea. And he was looking pretty good. And he's been riding that luck ever since. Ever since he started to get exposed and figured out, he has been absolutely piss poor. It just took a couple of games to learn about Trevoh Chalobah, get the film, see how he defends. And now he just gets fucking skinned alive every time. This guy is a terrible center back. He can't really do anything. You can't really name one thing that he's good at defensively. And he can't really play out of the back. What can he do? What can he do? He could succeed at a smaller club for sure. A Brighton or one of those mid-table clubs. Sure, he could be a decent center half there, but not for Chelsea Football Club. He's out of his depth at Chelsea. He needs to go. It was a good run. Next on the list, I mentioned him earlier too. How many times do I have to talk about this guy? Marc Cucurella. Get this guy out of the club. I do not care how much we paid for him. $58 million. I don't care that it's only been 6 months. Get him out of the club. Absolutely shocking signing. Terrible. Get him out. I don't even have to say anything more about him. Get him out of the club. Okay, next on the list, Jorginho. My God.
So not Jorginho.
Jorginho is so past it. This is the guy we're relying on in our midfield at the moment. Him and Kovacic. Kovacic is decent. I still like Kovacic. But Jorginho, this guy, he's a possession merchant. So negative in the way he plays. It's sideways. It's backwards all the time. Never forward. Never advancing the ball. He plays us into pressure so many times. What is this guy really doing for us at the moment? He does not fit whatever Potter is trying to build. And whatever the next manager comes in, he's not going to want a washed, old Jorginho. Get him out of the club. You had a good run. You won us the Champions League. You helped us do that. But it's time to go. Go to a different club. Go to Newcastle or something.
There's one name though. I'm excited. I'm waiting to hear. I mean, it could be next, but there's a guy I'm waiting to hear you name.
I think this might be the guy. Mason Mount.
No, not him. Well, okay,
Mason Mount
go on.
is not good enough at Chelsea Football Club. This guy has become so overrated. He had one good season, and everyone thought he was this world beater because he came from the Chelsea Academy. He's English, plays for Chelsea, homegrown. He's going to be the guy. This guy is absolutely fucking piss poor. He's on the level with Kai Havertz, and I hate Kai Havertz. I haven't even
Not
gotten to
Kai
him yet.
Havertz, no.
But Mason Mount and Kai Havertz are both equally shit. And the same thing I said about Jorginho, he plays so negatively. The same thing can be said about Mason Mount. His decision making, his final ball, so poor. He has it in his locker. He can do it. But for the most part, his decision making is so poor, it doesn't allow him to do it. I think one thing that epitomized this was today. Joao Felix was through on goal. Mason Mount had the ball, and he played it out wide to a running old Aspilicueta instead. Joao Felix is through on goal, and he's playing at the Aspilicueta. It's so negative. It's sideways. He loves to go backwards. This guy is supposed to be an attacking midfielder, prowess, supposed to be like our Kevin De Bruyne, that kind of, and he's the exact opposite.
I mean, he was kind of looked at as the next Lampard at a point. I remember the early stages when because he came up basically with Phil Foden, and I remember the debates of Mason Mount is better than Phil Foden. I remember people dying on that hill saying Mason Mount is a far better, more talented player than Phil Foden.
That's it.
Now,
that was
now
disgraceful to have that
now it's almost blasphemous. Like you can get struck down by God if you say something like that Mason Mount can even like shine the boots of Phil Foden right now, because Mason Mount, unfortunately, he's at a bit of he doesn't know what type of player he wants to be. At points, he wants to be a 10. Then he wants to be a number 8, a guy who who's just a central midfielder. Now he doesn't know what the hell he wants to be, and it's unfortunate because obviously he has so much talent, but
he has it in the locker. He can do it.
We see it diminishing because obviously the club is going down, and obviously for his country he wasn't playing that well either. So I mean, it's just everything was going down.
Poor for England as well. Poor for England. He's just been poor this season. He's just had a poor season in general. He's still living off of that Champions League winning season. He was very good then, but ever since then, been poor. It's got to be one of these last three that you're waiting for me to say. The next guy on the list, and I think he's going to leave at some point. Thank God. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. Get this guy out of Chelsea Football Club. There was no reason to sign him. I mean, we signed him to help Thomas Tuchel at the time. That was his guy. He was washed. Then there was a reason Arsenal fans hated Aubameyang. They said he was washed. They wanted him gone for so long. They finally got him to go to Barcelona. And then Chelsea brings him back to the Premier League thinking that we were going to get something different. This guy is terrible. He doesn't offer anything. He doesn't really offer anything. He is not the same player that he was back in his prime where he could, stretch the defense. He was clinical. This is not the same Aubameyang. This is not the same guy. He's absolutely shit. And the fact that Barcelona wants him back, it doesn't even make sense. What is Barca doing? They want Aubameyang back? I don't
but
want
to be
him.
fair, Aubameyang did play somewhat well for Barca in that small stint that he had. So I could see why Chelsea in a number 9 scare were like, who do we get? It was I think it was between him or Depay, and I mean realistically, that's not the greatest. Either one would have been bad, but I mean this was a sign of a desperate football club. I mean, this is what that's what I keep
saying. Desperate. They're so desperate. And that's why we sound Joao Felix. Next on the list, and this next guy, it's unfortunate for him to be on the list because he just showed it in the World Cup that he still has got it in his locker. He's still a quality player. I just don't think he can do it at Chelsea because of the reasons that are going on with the football club. Not enough chances being created, not enough opportunity. It's kind of the same thing I said about Raheem Sterling. The player I'm talking about is Hakim Ziyech. He is still a quality player, but he has not performed at all for Chelsea. And for whatever reason that is, I can't quite pinpoint it because he still has it in his locker, and you see it like we did when we played for Morocco. Still quality, still got it. He just never quite put it all together for Chelsea. And I think a lot of that is because we don't put ourselves in the attacking positions well enough to help succeed with Hakim Ziyech. And he's not the type of guy he's a chance creator, but he's not the quickest. He's not going to take a bunch of people on. He's a passer of the ball. You get on that left foot, send a cross in. Chelsea has never really been good at that since he's joined the club because our attack has been so shit since he joined the club.
It has not been good.
The final man on the list. I think you know who this is.
I think I know.
Kai Havertz. Where do I even begin? 100 million pounds for him. This might be the worst 100 million player I've ever seen. And the fact is, he could do nothing else, which I mean, I don't think he will ever do anything else. The way how shocking he is, but he has scored one of the most important goals in club history. He's already a Chelsea quote unquote legend because of what he did in the UCL final, which is the fact that this guy is going to go down in club history is shocking because this guy is so painfully bad. His decision making poor, finishing poor, quality on the ball poor, through balls poor. There's nothing good about this guy's game. And you watched those highlights, you can see the reasons why we paid 100 million from Bayer Leverkusen. But he is so weak. He has no mentality, not strong, never quite suited for the Premier League game. He is just a shocking footballer. There's not really something that he's truly, truly good at. He's not quick. He's not really taking players on. He's not clinical. What is he good at? I mean, I saw him today dribble the ball out of bounds. He was running on the counterattack. He could have sent Joao Felix through on goal. Again, Joao Felix was through on goal. And instead, Kai Havertz dribbled it towards the left wing and out of bounds. He is so poor. I've criticized Kai Havertz many times. I'm going to continue to do it. He needs to go as soon as possible. Get whatever money you can from him. 20 million, 10 million, a bag of chips, a Subway sandwich,
10 million.
a Nando's meal. Get something for this guy because Kai Havertz is not the guy. He's absolutely shit. I might have. Am I missing anybody? Because
that was the guy. That was the guy I was waiting for because I've known how much you've hated Kai Havertz and how much of just mind-boggling bad he's been. But we've always been giving him the benefit of the doubt that
because he has the talent.
He's never been really played in his true position. But what is his true position exactly? I'm not quite sure. I know it is. Is it not? Is it in the stands? Is it not on? It's not on the pitch. That's not where his true position is.
No,
because they're forcing him to play a 9. They're forcing him to play like a center forward. That's poor. But I think for what the talent this guy has, he should be able to hold at least somewhat of his own. I mean, show something. But to play like negative to where you're basically, as soon as you have Kai Havertz in at the center forward, you're playing 10 already at 10 men. You're playing a man down. Because this guy cannot hold up play. He cannot feed players. He cannot. No. He gives nothing for the attack. And yeah, he scored one of the most important goals in Chelsea club history. I mean, against Man City. I mean, it's a gorgeous goal.
It is.
But it's a bit of the. I always compare a little bit of the Fernando Torres. Fernando Torres had a horrible Chelsea.
Fantastic example.
Horrible Chelsea career, but he had some of the biggest goals. I mean, we all remember what he did to Barca.
Yeah, iconic.
To catapult them. Iconic. But his Chelsea career was an absolute disaster. It was horrible. There is no good thing you can take out of that. But Torres was still better than what Kai Havertz is now.
He was still better, yeah.
Yeah, he was still better. So I mean,
Kai Havertz is part of the reason why this attack has been so bad since he's joined the club. Because he's been the one staple in the attack. The front three, he's been the staple. He's been in there since he joined the club. And he's been shit since he joined the club.
Because there's just so much like input in from everybody. I mean, like, what team were they trying to build here? Because I can't see an actual like lineup that they want. I mean, Todd Bowley comes in and comes from baseball and says we should just play a 4-3-3 because he heard some kids down the block talking about how the 4-3-3 is football. And look, I get that 4-3-3 is iconic. It's the most iconic formation in football. But that's not what Chelsea play. You cannot force Cucurella to play a left back. He's a wing back.
You can't just force a formation onto a set of players. It's down to the manager. What is Todd Bowley thinking? I mean, he can't tell the manager you got to play 4-3-3. I mean, what is this?
Play 4-3-3 because they have so many like of these weird like non-wingers, non-midfielders, these like attacking forwards. You have Kai Havertz, Mason Mount, Hakim Ziyech, Christian Pulisic. You have all these guys. It's like you don't have, if you wanted to play 4-3-3, you sign wingers. You have no wingers. You need a number 9. They've always had a decent midfield, but now they don't have that. I mean,
They don't even
Conte
because Kante's
can't
been
get
injured. He can't get fit.
Conte can't fit to save his life. I mean, he's
No.
basically, the modern day Gareth Bale at Madrid. He's made of glass. He was born broken. Like,
Yeah.
this guy cannot
It's
stay fit.
sad. Yeah.
It's unfortunate because obviously he's one of the greatest midfielders to ever grace the Premier League.
Yeah.
But to be fair, it's about at the end of it. I mean,
He's
he's
at the
already
end
getting
of
to
it.
the age to
He
where he cannot
if you
stay
if
fit.
you know Kante's whole game is based on the ability to run around and chase down the ball, win the ball back, and win possession back. And he can't do that anymore at this age.
He
At a
can't. No,
certain
he,
point,
he
your
can't
game
do it.
diminishes and you have to readjust. And Kante's whole game is winning back possession, chasing down. Iconic, the way he was able to win back possession for Leicester City and Chelsea over the years. But he can't do that anymore because he's too injury prone. He's going to pull a muscle. It's
Yeah,
just inevitable. He's old.
he can't do it anymore. Yeah, I mean, yeah. I mean, there's
And
only
that's
so much
why
your body can do.
Luka Modric, the way he's able to play at his age, I give him so much props because he probably doesn't run quite as much as N'Golo Kante, but he's box to box. Modric does a lot, and at his age to be able to play that midfielder position, a lot of credit goes to him. Kante, probably I think he's younger, but he just can't quite do it anymore. He just can't.
Yeah, yeah, because I think Conte's game was more of his engine. I mean, I
Yeah,
think
100%.
Luca was always, box to box, but he never was known. He was a finesse player, so he can get the ball. He can put the
Yeah,
ball in the right positions to where he doesn't always have to be moving.
so it saved his
Conte
body.
always has to be moving
Has to
because that's just his game. I mean, he loses the ball, he gets the ball, and then tries the lead it up.
start
But
the attack.
yeah, unfortunately, his body cannot no longer hold up, and now Chelsea have to look to do they resign him? I saw they're trying to resign him, but to the point that you just try and cash in. I mean, I think if you resign him now, you might as you're gonna basically keep him until irrelevancy. I mean, you basically are okay with saying, well, we'll just make no money. I think now Chelsea could get like 45 million for
Well,
Conte.
the
I
thing
think
is,
there's
right now he would leave on a free transfer.
yeah. Is he already in a free transfer in January? I thought that was in the
Barca were
summer.
trying. Barca were no, like not right now at this very second.
Okay.
But like he's like Barca we're trying to sign him on a free transfer. That's what clubs are looking to sign him on a free transfer.
Yeah,
Which
I think
would be
Chelsea. Yeah,
any club signing him on a free transfer with no risk. That's good business.
yeah,
But
that's good business.
yeah,
But
like
like, yeah, I mean, I'm not sure if it's possible to try and sell him now in January because he's injured. But that's something that also comes down to the people that run the club. You have to have these things already set that
yeah,
this player's contract is running out.
and there's
It's
no
either
vision to do that.
you hammer out a deal or you get ready to sell him because you cannot lose players like N'Golo Kante for free. That's just
No,
things you cannot do.
no. So I think between those three reasons that I was able to get at, Graham Potter himself, Todd Bowley, and the recruitment issue, and then the players that we have in the squad. That's what's wrong with Chelsea Football Club at the moment. And the fact that you can have three huge talking points for what's wrong with a single football club, that just goes to show how much of a shambles Chelsea Football Club is at the moment. It's an absolute shit show. And I personally think that the way that you go about fixing this is by sacking Graham Potter. I think that's the thing you can do tomorrow. And I think you go forward from there. I don't know if Todd Bowley's going to do that. I don't know. The old regime at Chelsea, they didn't play no games. They were quick to sack the manager. And Bowley was quick to sack Thomas Tuchel. Is that going to continue? Is he going to be quick to sack Graham Potter? I think he should, but it remains to be seen. You think he deserves at least another transfer window?
I think he deserves an actual full transfer window. That's just what I think. I mean, I'll always, as poor as Chelsea have been, I'll always think it's more of a personnel issue. But if he gets a full transfer window, if he's able to make some type of signings that are, similar to the style that he wants to play, whatever that style
Whatever it
may
is,
be,
I mean,
whatever it is.
Though. We don't even know what style it is. I mean, how do you want to sign players for a style that we don't even know what it is? And he's been the manager for
I think he has a. I mean, I think 20 odd games is not enough. I mean, we're talking
19.
about 19. We're talking about not even 20 yet. This is football. This is the most sophisticated, one of the most sophisticated games in the world. It takes time. It takes time. There's the same thing we saw with Mikel Arteta, that you have to let him get the players that he wants in. And at first, it could be players that you don't think are going to be it until, I mean, who would have thought Martin Odegaard would be this good in the Premier League? Nobody. Who would have thought Martinelli would be good? I mean, who thought Saka would be as good as he is now? I think it takes time. And I think if he gets a full transfer window and he's still this bad next season. Because the problem with Chelsea fans that they're sort of thing that they're like on the teetering edge of that if they don't do something now to try and be good now, they're going to fall in irrelevancy. And that is a
It's a
possibility. I mean,
possibility.
no matter what, it's a possibility, but I think it's hard when you have an owner like Todd Bowley who's willing to throw his money around like this. I don't think that's ever a really a possibility that's like, oh, we're going to just fall off and become like how Arsenal were,
Or AC
seasons
Milan.
past, or AC Milan would just completely fall off and never heard about it again. But I think you just have to be somewhat patient because I mean, it's just how football is. I mean, it's not Manchester City. I mean, Manchester City, even before they got pumped up with all their millions, it took them time as well.
I just want to ask you this because I want to look. You're a Real Madrid fan, and we beat you with Thomas Tuchel, a proven manager with European pedigree. I just don't, and I know my belief, and I don't. Let's just say hypothetically, we meet in the Champions League a year from now. We get some new signings, and Kunku's in there. We meet in the Champions League quarterfinals. If we're lucky enough to, we won't even be in the Champions League. Let's just say we were hypothetically.
Just say you were in the Champions League.
Would you, as a Real Madrid fan, be scared or nervous even playing a Graham Potter-led team with what you know about his resume?
It's impossible. That's an impossible question to answer because one, no matter what, I don't fear any team. I mean, we could be playing anybody. I don't care. But at the level of it, it's too early to say because I mean, God knows what business Chelsea can do within those 3 years. If they could get better, they could get worse for Christ's sake. But I mean, that's a hard question to ask. But
I think
I would if I had to say right now, then I would say obviously not because I mean
I just
he's
think
not a proven manager. I mean
certain
it's
managers, you know, they can go to they can compete with the best of the best. You knew Thomas Tuchel could be a Real Madrid side because you knew
eh,
the manager that he is. He's done it
but
before.
I do also think that I mean I had to bring up his name every single time, but Mikel Arteta was the same way. I mean, who would have thought that assistant manager would just be coming out of nowhere to be top of the Premier League already with an Arsenal team? I mean,
But I
it's
think
something that
Arteta's a little bit of a different case though because he's coming from Pep Guardiola's understudy. It's like his wingman. He was
yeah, but
more
we've
destined
seen
for
wing
success.
with like these style of guys that come up, that come up off assistant coaches not do so well. I think it's something that obviously Arteta is a bit of an anomaly. You can't just you can't be that guy to be like I could go outside and play football a little bit and be like, I could tell my mom, I'm gonna be a professional footballer because look at Cristiano Ronaldo. Well, that's like a one anomaly, one of a million. It's hard to compare to that person, but this is what Graham Potter has shown. And I think in the little instances, what when at the before he got, I always forget a brain fart of the team he was before.
Brighton.
Wasn't it Brighton? Brighton, I always forget it. Brighton, he did well at Brighton with
He did.
what he had less, and because they gave him time to do the football that
But
he wanted to
we're
play.
we're considering good finishing in the top half of the Premier League. That's what got him the job.
Yeah, well, with that Brighton team, that's like basically a relegation team. I mean, that's not a great team, and I just think he needs more time. I think it's way too soon to do that. And yeah, I get that there's managers available, and who knows, a couple net by next transfer window. When we're in the exact same position next season, there's not going to be anybody available. But that's just the name of the game. I mean, you plunge on Potter, and you have to give him time to try and attempt to play his style that he wants to play.
That we don't know what it is. The
You
mystery is found.
you have to give him a chance because look, I'm sure Graham Potter did not go into this team being like, yeah, I 100% Mason Mount that fits what I want. Hakeem Ziyech 100% what I want. Like these are guys that he did not necessarily want, but he was given.
I'm not going to argue that the players aren't good. I'm not going to argue that the recruitment has been like I agree with your sentiment, but it's just now that I hold this belief in the back of my head that even if we fix the personnel, I don't know if Potter is the guy to lead us to trophies, silverware, and ultimately that's what we want.
Yeah, and that's
That's
fair
the
because he
question.
hasn't won anything. He hasn't really won anything, but well, that will all have to be seen in due time. I mean, who knows? He could get sacked next week, but I don't think that's going to happen. I think they're going to give him an actual full transfer window, but we'll have to see.
The thing is, if we continue, if I don't know how bad this losing streak could get, but Well, what we've lost 7 out of our
They
last
play they
9 in
play
all
Crystal Palace
competitions.
next, right?
I mean, look, we lose another
You
game in the
could
Premier
lose to
League.
Crystal Palace.
How many losses in the Premier League is it going to take before Bowley says it's enough is enough? Let's just get him out. I mean, it's pretty bad. I mean, even if you
I
think
don't
that
know.
even if you think he should get more time, just look at it from you go on any football app and you look at our recent form. It's red, 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 red. It's all red because we keep losing. How much
Yeah.
red can you see before somebody's going to pull the trigger and say it's time to go? Because we're such a big club, we're not supposed to be in such a poor position. Losing to Fulham, drawing to Nottingham Forest. It's just
It's not looking great. It's not looking great.
so. I mean,
I think that I think you got it all out of your system. I think that might be the end of your rant on Chelsea Football Club. I think if you unless I'm wrong.
no. For the time being, that's all I got. I had 3
For
main
all
points.
for us right now, that was it. You had to get it out there. You had to
That,
put it
that,
on
that
the
was my
table.
main. That was my main 3 points I wanted to talk about Chelsea Football Club because there's 3 issues. I highlighted all 3. I probably talked about Graham Potter the most, but that doesn't mean that the other 2 aren't just as important, if not even worse. I want to make that clear. The other 2 issues of Bowley, the recruitment, and then the players in the squad being ass, those are just as important, if not even more important. But Potter is the one thing you can change tomorrow, and I don't believe in him to win trophies, so you might as well, cut your losses, quit while you're ahead, and go after Enrique, Pochettino, Zidane. That's what I think. We'll
Okay.
probably talk about managerial stuff if or when he does get sacked. We'll look at potential guys to replace him. We'll see, but
Yes, and when that happens, I'm sure you'll be there to report it and get
we'll
it
not only
up.
report it, and then I'll make a full video. We'll make a full video about it as well.
Well, yeah, we'll go into depth about it,
Yeah,
whatever happens.
yeah.
But I think that wraps up Chelsea, and then we can move into our next topic, talking about another Premier League team, Manchester United, and we go from Chelsea's misery to
Okay.
United's somewhat looks like success. I
Yeah.
mean, they've hit a good hit of form, and I wanted to pass this off to you
Me
again
again?
because
Okay.
because I think you had a different view of it when what I had. I mean,
Oh, okay.
you've kind of gone on the way end, but I just want you to go into and explain to the people what you think is going on in Manchester right now.
I think Manchester United are on the verge of being true title contenders. I think they are approaching the title race. And by the time y'all see this, I could look stupid because the Manchester Derby is tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock.
Oh God.
But what I'll say, if Manchester United win the Manchester Derby, they are 1 point behind Man City. And if I'm not mistaken, me and you both consider Man City in the title race at the moment. In the race,
Absolutely. Yes.
you think Arsenal's going to win it, and I think Manchester City will. But regardless of that, they're in the race to win it. So if Man United are 1 point behind them, how can you not say Man United are not in it? They're in the race. They're in the running. Eric Ten Hag, what a manager. We just talked about how I don't think Graham Potter is the guy for Chelsea. Eric Ten Hag is the guy for Manchester United. He will bring silverware to the club. And I think he will be the guy who brings Manchester United back to a Premier League title. I think he can do that. I think he has proven himself this season. He has become the fastest manager in Man United history to reach 20 wins. This is one of the most illustrious football clubs in English football, but also world football. And he breaks a record that no other manager in their history could achieve. 6 straight wins in all competitions since the World Cup has break resumed. 1 point away from City if they win the derby, like I said. He has brought Marcus Rashford back into form. And I think the scariest part about this Manchester United team is that they are not even that far developed into the Eric Ten Hag project. The Glazers are on their way out, and they can't even make proper signings. They can only make loan signings right now because the owners aren't spending any money because they don't want to because they're selling the club. So, Ten Hag was able to bring in some players, like Casemiro and things like that in the summer, but now they aren't even able to add more in January because of this. They are eventually at some point going to get new owners, and they're going to back Ten Hag even more, and they're going to sign a true number 9. Right now, they've been playing Martial. Martial isn't that guy, but
Martial.
they're still succeeding with him. They have a goal scoring issue. They've only scored the same amount of goals as Leeds United in the Premier League, which was a crazy stat when I first heard it, but it is true. If they can get a proper number 9, they can compete and win the league in these seasons to come because they have a great midfield. Casemiro is that guy. What a signing he is. Real Madrid were looking to let go because they were bringing in a younger guy in Tchouameni. But Casemiro, he's not washed by any stretch of the imagination. He's still a phenomenal player. In his prime, kind of, whatever you want to say, prime, he's close to it. Still a phenomenal player. My point is, Manchester United have not had something to look forward to as a football club in a long time. And I think Erik ten Hag is the guy to bring them back to the glory days because this guy doesn't take any shit from anyone. He has got the players to buy into his system. He actually has a system. What a manager he is. I love Erik ten Hag. I think he's a phenomenal manager. Manchester United finally have done something right since since Sir Alex retired. And I think that they are on track to be back in the glory days in the future.
And look, I don't completely disagree with everything you said. I just think it's a little bit jumping a little bit too far ahead there. That I think I had them making top 4. I had them finishing 3. But to see them as actual contender, like, do I actually think Manchester United could win the title this season right now? No.
I don't think
there's
so
no
either,
chance.
but I think they're in the race.
But for me to actually think of someone as like a true contender, I have to somewhat believe that they can win the title. To me, that's what a contender should be. So if you think someone's a contender,
but you can't say they're not in the race if they're 1 point behind. If they win tomorrow, look, this
if
my point is,
but that's a big if.
It is, but
I mean, we
Man
saw the
City
last time
coming
they
off
got.
of
I mean, City had 2 hat tricks in the same game against
Man City aren't on great form at the moment, though. They're coming off of a loss in the cup to Southampton. I mean, Pep Guardiola said.
I get that, but you have to also think that, I mean, these players understand it's the Manchester derby. There's always that bit of, that City players can kind of scoff at these, what they look at bottom feeders of the league. But when it comes down to a derby, I think players always play up. And when City have all the players, I mean, City have the guys. I mean, Haaland had a hat trick. I mean, Haaland's going to be looking to get another hat trick.
He is.
Like, when you look at this, who's going to stop Erling Haaland on this Manchester United team? I don't know who, because we thought maybe they could do something, but it's really a project for every team in world football at the moment to see how to stop this damn guy. And look, I get that they've won 6 straight games, but I can just look at who they played. They played Charlton, Everton, Bournemouth, Wolves, and Nottingham Forest.
Yeah.
And Burnley. Look, I'm not gonna completely discredit, because look, it's hard to win consecutive league games like that, but they're not playing the upper echelon elite here. They haven't. I mean, yeah, towards the beginning of the season, they beat Arsenal. They gave Arsenal their first loss, but that was still, when they were still poor. I mean, towards the beginning of the season, Manchester United were in a bit of a mini crisis.
They were,
and they somehow
turned it around.
They've turned it around a little bit.
Ten Hag is a good enough manager to do so.
Look, I even when they were going through that, I thought Ten Hag was great. I thought he's another guy you have to give him time. He's the perfect guy. If there's anybody you're going to give time to, it's going to be Erik ten Hag.
Yeah,
because
world-class
you
manager.
Trust his system. I mean, for him to go against Cristiano Ronaldo, one of the biggest egos in the history of sport, to basically boot him out of the club, I mean, that takes moxie. That takes something from a guy, like Ronaldo even said, a guy who hasn't won really anything. For him to do that, and the players haven't fallen apart. He hasn't lost the locker room for doing that.
If anything, it's gotten better.
I mean, it's gotten better because there's nobody in the world. There's no player bigger than a club, and that's what the main consensus was. And I'm not gonna say, Ten Hag can bring this United team in the future to win a Premier League. I think they could be contenders. I think they'll be a perennial top 4 team for years to come as Ten Hag at the helm. But to see them as a real contender, I don't think there's a real possibility they can win the league this season.
But okay, I'll give you that. Even if I don't think my main point. I think my point is they're in the race. If they win tomorrow, for sure, they're in that. They're only 1 point away from City. You got to say they're in the race. Does that mean I think they're going to win the league? No, I wouldn't bet on it. But they are in the race. But my point is that even if they're not in the title race this season, I think I've seen enough so far and the belief that in the future they're going to, get some new signings. And I believe in whoever Ten Hag does want to sign. I think he's not the type of guy to just look. Some of the signings you see Chelsea make, for example, you scratch your head. It's a little bit of you don't understand it. Ten Hag is not getting a signing unless he signs off and says, I want this guy. So I think whoever he does bring in is going to be a perfect fit for his system. And if that happens with, a new owner that's going to want to splash the cash, I have no reason to believe that an Eric Ten Hag led team with the core of players we have right now can't compete for the league in years to come. Even if you don't think
Yeah,
this
in
season,
years to come,
I
yes.
think that, potentially next season, the season after, they could win the Premier League. I don't think it's too far fetched.
Yeah, that's not crazy to say. I mean, who would have thought we'd be saying this about Arsenal? I'm just more looking at this as a right now thing because you were so open to say, yeah, they're contenders, me. But it's just how you interpret what you believe a contender is. As the average football fan, what would you say a contender is? For me, I see a contender as someone I viably think can win the Premier League right now. And I think there's only two contenders, really. I mean, that's Arsenal and Manchester City. But yeah, I mean, it's a big ask. Can Manchester United beat City in the derby tomorrow? Who knows? It's football, but I think that's one of the biggest asks you can ask a team to do right now to go beat Manchester City. And yeah, some teams have done it, but they've
Yeah.
been able to draw with City. But when it comes to a big match like a derby, City usually turn up to these games.
So this might end up being a dumb question if by the time everyone's watching this tomorrow morning,
Oh
Man City
God.
have absolutely smacked United or whatever. But I'm going to ask you this anyway, for the sake of argument. And if United do win, then we'll get to hear what your opinion would be. Let's just say hypothetically, United win this game.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on Manchester United going to be then? Are you going to say what could you say about them?
I think it will just more it wouldn't really change what I think as like, oh, they can win the Premier League now. I think if they just win one game, I don't think that changes my whole idea. Oh, they can win the Premier League right now.
They do
I
play
think it
Arsenal
just
after as well.
they do play Arsenal after. I mean, the Killers row,
Well,
but I mean, I think okay, let's just say if we're gonna play this game, let's just say they beat both of them. They beat
okay, okay,
City
okay,
and Arsenal.
okay.
Look, if they beat both of those teams, then yeah, I'll come on here and say, you know what, Manchester United could do it right fucking now. They can win the league right
Oh,
now. But that's the biggest ask you can
it is.
ask of any team at this moment to beat number 1 and 2. That's as difficult as it gets. But I think if they let's just say let's just step out of reality for a little bit and just say yeah they'll beat City. I think it'll just more concrete, set it more concrete that Ten Hag is the guy and that they made the right decision and this guy is going to lead United to trophies and he's going to be that guy at the helm. You keep him for as long as you can, for 10 years, 20 years, you keep him for however long he wants to be here. You sign
Yeah.
whatever he wants, even if Anthony looks to be, he's hit or miss. He likes to do 360 spins,
He
but
hasn't been a
you get
terrible
some out
signing.
of him.
Yeah,
He
no,
hasn't been horrible. You can get something.
I think
He
I think he's
looks
still
like he
gonna
can.
he's still gonna get
I
better. I
think he
think.
could be I think he could be a solid piece in, a possibly he's not going to be the best player on a Premier League winning team, but he could be a guy on them. He
Yeah,
could be a guy on one of those teams and
yeah.
you know, so I think yeah, if they win tomorrow, I think that wouldn't change my mind about them, possibly winning the title this season, but I think it would just, push the fact that Ten Hag is the man.
And what do you think about the way he's been able to bring back Marcus Rashford? Because I think, for me, I rated Marcus Rashford, but I didn't think I would see this resurgence from him. I thought like, okay, well, maybe we were never going to see Rashford live up to his potential, and it looks like
Yeah,
he actually is now.
because we remember when he broke onto the scene in 2017, where this guy scored in every major debut for Manchester United. Premier
Yeah,
League, FA Cup, I think every cup game, even in the Champions League. And this guy looked like a set for destiny. I mean, he was linked to Real Madrid, he's linked to Barcelona, but then he, kind of fell a bit back down to reality that he wasn't like a Kylian Mbappe just ready to take off. He's a great player. He's a very good player. On his day, he's untouchable. You can't play him.
hmm
But I think it's just good for the sport because he's so good for the sport in general because just how kind of even off the
the
pitch, what
charity
he
work.
does off the pitch,
Yeah,
him as a man, he's a good man, and I can appreciate that. I'm glad to see him hit form because for all he does, I think he deserves it. I think he deserves to finally be playing. It's starting to pay off a little bit that he's able to stay healthy a little bit. We saw him, struggle with some injury, and now he's starting to explode back into the form that we've known him for. And he's still young. I
Yeah.
mean, it feels like he should be about 30, but
Yeah. We've been
just
hearing about
because
him for so
we
long.
learned about him when he was like 17 years
Yeah.
old, it feels like he's been around for a long time. He's a bit of a veteran at this point. I mean, he's been in the Premier League for
He's
a
like
good amount of
like
years.
25, I think.
Yeah, he's around
That's
25, so he
that's like entering his prime.
not even in his prime yet, and he's starting to catch form. And for a United team that's starting to resurge, it could be very good just in general for his entire career. And
Yeah.
I'm glad to see it because I think he deserves it.
Yeah. I agree. I think Rashford is looking to be the guy we always thought he was going to be for United. We thought by this point, we thought he was going to be the guy who could be the best player on Manchester United. And right now, he is the
I think he is.
talisman of Manchester United. He's become the player we thought he was going to be. And it's took like he didn't take a straight road to doing it. It was a curved road. He hit bad form. He went sideways,
Yeah,
backwards,
he
and now he's
started
back up.
as a 9, then switched to the wing, and now he's kind of a hybrid of the
Hybrid.
two.
Yeah. But I mean, I like Rashford as well. His charity work, the things he does off the pitch. I'm glad he has re-hit form, and I'm glad that Ten Hag was able to bring it out of him. I think we're getting a more mature Marcus Rashford, somebody who is going to be at this level. I think for years to come. I think we're only seeing the beginning of what Rashford is going to be in the future. I think he's only going to get better from here on in.
Yeah, I think Ten Hag sees him as one that's going to be the focal point of the team that he's going to build.
Yeah,
I
I
think
agree.
there's a lot of players in this team that he's already that are placeholders for his big grand project. And I think Martial, not Martial is one of them, man. He's just a placeholder. He's
Yeah,
kind of like he doesn't want to have him forever. He wants to obviously replace him. But Marcus Rashford is a person that he'd like to keep, and he'd
for the
like
long
to
term.
for the long term and have him spearhead this this resurgence that he wants to run here.
I think my final point that I'm going to make with Manchester United, and then I'll let you say whatever you want to say if you have a final point. But I think Eric Ten Hag is going to lead Manchester United to their first silverware since 2017 this season. I think they are winning the League Cup. They might win the FA Cup. They might win a different trophy. But I think at the bare minimum, they are winning the League Cup. They're going to beat Newcastle in the final. And Ten Hag is going to cement himself as the guy going forward for Manchester United. He's going to bring United silverware this season.
Yeah, I don't think that's too crazy to say. I would agree with that. I think they'll bring some silverware. I mean, they're still in Europa League. I think they can win that.
They could win
I
Europa
mean,
League as well.
that's that. I mean, people could scoff at that. I mean, and if you're a Premier League team in Europa League, I think it's very important that you win the Europa League so you can guarantee yourself.
In the
I
Champions
mean,
League.
the Champions League, because I mean, God knows what could happen. I mean, we could see this Manchester team be rattled with injuries toward the end of the season. They drop, vital points, and they're immediately back in Europa League. So at least they can guarantee themselves, no matter what, they can make Champions League football.
Yeah.
So
And
if they
I
can
think they'll
win
make it
that,
through top four anyway.
yeah, I
But
think they'll make it top
even if
four
they
anyway. But
don't,
like, yeah, but I'm just saying that there's an importance of being an English side in the Europa League. I think they should somewhat prioritize.
prioritize
We
it.
have to win that
Yeah. They
because
should win it. They're probably the best
top
team
four
in
is
it.
so difficult to make.
Yeah,
But
it is.
you know that would just be another piece of stuff where he can add on to win as much trophies that are available, because I
Yeah.
mean
No.
he's we're talking
Yeah.
about that he's really in contention to win almost everything they're competing in at the moment.
Yeah. And I think, you I can't think of a much better season for Ten Hag than potentially, being in the top four at the bare minimum, or being, I think, potentially top three, bare minimum, winning either the League Cup or the FA Cup or both, potentially. I think you're going to win the League Cup, I would assume. And then also winning Europa League. That's like a
That
dream season.
that is a very good first season.
It is. And I think that would set up Manchester United for the future to potentially, are they ever going to
Challenge for the
be
Premier League,
are they
yeah.
ever going to be what they were back in those, 2000s where they were winning the Premier League every season, it felt like? No, I don't think that's going to happen, but they can win, they can compete for a Premier League. They will be able to be back in contention, which is something we haven't talked about for Manchester United in such a long time, it feels like.
Yeah.
So that's a development that we're gonna have to wait and see on. You know,
Have to sit on that.
by the time this comes out, we might be looking like idiots. No, not you, me. I might be looking like an idiot. And Manchester United got absolutely spanked by Man City, or I'm gonna look like a genius, and
You're
we're
like a
gonna see.
prophet. Well, yeah, we'll
Uh,
have to see. We'll have to
it
see.
remains to be seen. But
But I think
yeah,
that does that wraps up all our points we want to make in
in
the
the Premier
Premier League,
League,
and that switches us to the next topic that is going
and I
on in
and I,
world football.
and I'll take this because it's only right that look, you let me have first crack at the Premier League. I'm wearing the Chelsea kit. I had
The
to get first
Chelsea.
crack, but I have to give you first crack at this because this is something that is going to be very highly anticipated. I can't wait to watch this. So Real Madrid and Barcelona are playing in El Clasico in the Spanish Super Cup final. They both won their respective semifinals on penalties, and now they match up in the final. I have to go ahead and get your thoughts. I'm going to ask your thoughts on this matchup and then ultimately give your prediction for who will win this matchup.
I think it's a great way to start off the year with football. I mean, an El Clasico in a Final Four silverware. We don't get to see that a lot. That
If we don't,
when we don't get to see. We mostly see it in the league, but it's exciting. I mean, I always love El Clasico when it comes around. I think it's a bit it's cemented itself in football history. It's heritage. I mean, these
yeah,
two clubs have been dueling it out for God knows how long, for decades. And I think obviously you know what I'm going to say. Real Madrid are going to thrash Barca. I think we're thrashing them. We could possibly, if I were to say, I would be surprised if it's not 3-0.
wow,
Because look. You always tell me all the time. You always remind me, oh, look who's top of the league. Look, Barca's really, really good at beating the teams that they have to beat. Beating the, Real Betis, beating these, smaller Spanish club teams. But when it comes to the big dogs, what the top of the echelon, the upper echelon, the kings of Europe, they're outclassed. They're outmatched. Xavi is out of his depth because they have no place. We saw it in the last Clasico that they played. Real Madrid dominated that game look, I'll give Barca the benefit of the doubt. They played a very good last 10 minutes. I mean, they had
you
us,
did. I remember that.
a bit at the edge of our seat. But overall, we absolutely dominated them. Benzema was having a Ballon d'Or showcase. I mean, he went there the first meeting between Benzema and Lewandowski and absolutely sat Lewandowski down. He made Lewandowski get his imaginary Ballon d'Or and throw it away. It was not even close. It was a battle of the two nines in the world, and Benzema outclassed Lewandowski in every aspect. I mean, Lewandowski looked lost. I mean, he looked like a lost dog. He couldn't find the net. He lost all bit of confidence. I mean, this guy was getting dominated by Rudiger and Alaba. I mean, and Madrid's not known for their defense, but they were able to hold and dominate Barca for most of this game. Our midfield, Valverde, was running the show. I mean, this is when Valverde was, having, just an absolute great start. He's still very good, but that start that Valverde had to the season, I mean,
It was
the
unbelievable.
absolute banger that he scored against Ter Stegen. I mean,
Yeah, great
look,
goal.
Real Madrid are just better. I mean, we've been better than Barca ever since the Messi
left.
even when Messi was still
Yeah.
there, we were still beating them.
Except
I mean, look,
Messi was winning more La Liga titles
I guess, but we owned them in Europe. But
in Europe. Yeah.
even when Messi was still there, we still were getting the better of Barca. I mean, towards the end of Messi, before he went to PS, we were still getting the better of him, and especially in the Xavi era. I mean, Xavi's basically been owned by Madrid. I mean, to be fair, like I'll give them credit. They're top of the league. That's to be fair. That's what Barcelona are. They beat the teams that they have to beat. Madrid have been kind of playing with their food and not really have been letting teams get the better of us. But when things matter, when we're playing rivals like Barcelona, that's when these players really get up. It's the same effect that when I was talking about Manchester City and Manchester United. We are basically City to Barca's United. I mean, we're going in here and we're just going to show them how it's done, because that's just what I'm always gonna back the boys. but I think that's I haven't been really shown anything since the last time that horror show, the horror El Clasico, where Madrid wore the black jerseys, the black kits in El Clasico, and we lost like what 5? I think 5-1. Some shit up, some shit crazy. But that was a bit of a curse. I mean, a bit of a fluke because you never switch the kits in El Clasico. That's a sin.
And that's what
That's
Barca
what
did last time.
Yeah, that's what they did. They wore the OVO. As soon as they announced they were wearing the OVO, I told you they're gonna lose. But
Yeah, you did.
OVO, no OVO, no, doesn't matter. Madrid win this comfortably. Like I said, I expect a 3-0.
3-0.
3-0.
Not even a good game. Not even.
I think I'm gonna enjoy the game. I'm gonna love it.
I hope
I
it's
think it's
not
gonna be a
3-0
great
for
game.
my viewing pleasure. I hope it's at least a competitive game. My thoughts on this game. I think it's going to be a closer game than you think. I think you're underestimating the fact that, you know, it's a final, and a lot of these Madrid players have pedigree in finals. Whether it's, for Jesus, I mean, the
Do
Champions
we have
League.
to name? Do
We
we have
have
to
to
name them
name
all?
the amount of finals that Madrid have been in. So I think Madrid are also going to play up because of the fact that it's a final, but it's not the Champions League final. I mean, these guys have played in such bigger competitions that, maybe they're just looking at this as any other game, and maybe that's how they should look at it. But
I mean, I
Barca,
think that's how they already look at every other game.
they have not been. When have Barca had the opportunity to really win some silverware recently?
Maybe like
Copa del Rey,
Europa
maybe
League,
Europa League.
Europa League when they were
See,
in it last season.
that's my point. Barca have not had the real opportunity to win silverware. I think that they're going to be ready for this game. I don't know. I agree with your point. I think Madrid, on paper, the better team. They should win this game. But I think there's something to be said about the fact that it's a Clasico. Anything can happen. It's a final. Anything can happen. And how much priority are Madrid really putting on this game compared to, anything else? I mean, are they playing, Madrid, I've seen reports that they're a little bit banged up.
A little
I don't
bit.
know.
I think
So I don't know how that's
Lucas
gonna play.
Vasquez is out. I mean, there was questions on Camavinga, but
Yeah,
Camavinga is fit to play.
a couple guys were
They did
limping.
announce. Yeah, but
So
I think
are they gonna risk some of these guys, for the long term to play them in a Spanish Super Cup final? I think there's something to be said about that. And Barca, whether or not you want to admit it or not, they are in good form at the moment. They're playing well at the moment. Good enough form. I think that this is Real Madrid are the favorites on paper, and if they should win the game. But with all of that being said, it's a final. Anything can happen. I think Xavi is going to cook up something special.
Xavi's gonna cook up. Bro, Barca fans have
Lewandowski,
been almost asking for Xavi's head.
I think Lewandowski's he's gonna do something for me.
Oh my!
21.
He's
Can you
not
do
doing
something
something
for
for
me?
you. Like, make him
Lewandowski,
wear the
can you
OVO.
do something for me?
He's not doing it.
I think he's gonna have something for Real Madrid. I think it's gonna be a close game. I think Barca take it in a 2-1.
It's a Barca
I think
take it.
Barca take it in a 2. I think it's gonna be an upset.
I guess you can believe that. I mean,
I gotta.
you're
I'm
up to your
backing
beliefs.
Barca. I gotta back Barca.
I mean, I'm looking at this line of how many times we played them. I mean, it's been 3-1, 3-1, 3-2, 2-1. I mean, what Madrid?
Dembele's on good form.
Dembele's on good. I guess he's on good form. I
He
mean,
is.
yeah. I still think we have the core players that we need. I mean, Modric is fit, Tchouameni's fit, Benzema's fit, Vinny's fit, Valverde's fit, Courtois fit. That's all. That's all we need. That's all we need, and we'll be perfectly ready and prepared for this final. I mean, we had a little bit more time to rest than Barca have, but I still think it doesn't matter anyway.
I think Pedri's playing great football at the moment. Dembele's playing good.
I think those are just average guys. I think those are just guys. To be fair,
Pedri?
Pedri's just a guy. Pedri's just a
Oh my
guy.
God. You can't.
I mean,
But you saw what Pedri was able to do against Atletico Madrid to help Barca get that win in the
Atletico
league.
Madrid. Look, yeah, he's a good player, but yeah, he's just a guy. I mean, to be fair, he's just a guy.
I think you're underestimating Barca. I'm not saying look, if I'm my prediction, I think that they will win. And I think that I'm picking the upset here. I think that Madrid on paper are the favorites.
You're
But
taking the under.
I think you are underestimating Barca though, like you always do.
No, I think it's fair. I mean,
I think you're underestimating them.
what can you expect when you're playing? The champions of Europe. I mean, to the point to where you just have to. I mean, you just have to go with the overwhelming favorite. I mean, I think it's fair. I think it's a close game in their books. To lose 3-0, that's pretty close. For
But I
Barca,
mean,
they should
they
they should
were
go home.
they were just taken all the way to penalties.
I mean, so were Barca.
Exactly. So it's closer. These teams are closer than you think. Anything can happen in football.
But I also think Real Madrid have a problem with playing. They can't play they play down to the level of the competition they do. And Barca to me seem like the ultimate front runners. I mean, when they play these shitty La Liga teams, they front run all the hell. But when it comes to playing a Bayern Munich, playing meaningful games in the Champions League, they crumble under pressure. This team is about as fragile as glass. I mean, I don't know if Lewandowski is that ever since he's been tasked with, be the savior of Barcelona. I don't know if he's up for it. I don't know if any of these players are really up for the challenge that it is to save Barcelona, because we've talked about Chelsea's bad business, but God
Barcelona,
have mercy for
they founded
anybody
bad
that
business.
makes the list of the bad business Barcelona have done. I mean, I'll just name one. Philip Coutinho, 140 million, at top 5 most expensive transfer fees of all time.
And what's even worse, he was part of the reason that they ended up losing Messi because they had no money.
So he was a part of the reason, and that's part of the reason Barca sold their souls, all of their television rights for the next 50 years. Look, and yeah, maybe that's just me kicking a person while I'm picking a team while they're down, but that's what these players have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. That Pedri has to deal with, that Gavi has to deal with. You guys have to be the saviors of this team, and I don't think they don't have that in them. We've seen them crumple when it matters the most, and that's what I think. They're going to feel a bit of this pressure. They're playing, but they have a chance to win silverware. And that's few and far between for this current modern day Barca. How many times did they have the chance to win silverware? And against Madrid, against El Clasico, against one of the most watched games in the world, I think it's gonna get to these players like Pedri. It's gonna get it into Gavi. It's gonna get into a little bit of Lewandowski's head. But for players like Benzema and Modric, guys who Toni Kroos, guys who have already been here, I mean, they're gonna play this like any other game, but it's gonna be elevated a little bit because it's Barcelona.
I think that's fair. That's a fair point. I think. I mean, Real Madrid are probably, well, not probably, they are the better team. All things considered.
Probably.
But I'm still rocking with the upset. I'm riding with Xavi.
Riding with Xavi, and it's going to be exciting to watch. I mean, it's great football. I mean, we get great football to watch tomorrow, and I believe this game is Sunday, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's just a few days away.
Yeah, so I mean, it's gonna be good.
It's
the
15th.
It's Sunday. It's Sunday. Yeah.
So we'll be talking about the winner of that game, the next pod, reacting to that. In the future, we would like to be able to we're gonna get a little off topic here. Live reaction to the match and live watch along. Something we've talked about it before. We need to do some work behind the scenes to really figure it out.
Yeah, it's a bit difficult to try and get.
Something in the future we are working towards being able to do, but at least now for now, we will talk about the results of that match on the next pod, along with probably more bad news with Chelsea and things of that nature, because it's only getting worse.
It's not looking great.
But there's always going to be more in the Premier League to talk about. It seems like every time we come to do a new pod, there's a new talking point, whether it's Graham Potter or Manchester United playing well, Liverpool. You never know what to expect in the Premier League. And now we're getting closer to the Champions League. We got Real Madrid and Barca playing in the Super Cup. Things are coming up in football, and it's only getting better. January transfer window still not even halfway through being done yet.
We're about to hit the halfway mark.
So God knows what's going to happen with that. We're going to be right here to report it on the news. Check out the YouTube shorts. You want to see if your football news, posting about it on the YouTube shorts, but then also here you get more of our debate on
in depth of what we think. But yeah, I think that wraps it up for our football topics for this episode.
This pod, yeah.
And I think it's time to switch from, obviously, like we do all the time, one football to another football, American football, and I'll let you take the reins on it.
So obviously the playoffs begin this Saturday, and I think there's a lot to talk about with that. However, before we get into the playoffs, there was a few other talking points with the NFL offseason officially beginning for some of the teams. 18 of the 32 teams, they've entered the offseason. Things are being discussed in terms of free agency, trades, and there's some a huge talking points. We're not even going to touch on the draft just yet. That's a topic for another episode. Some teams are already preparing for that. So, some teams they're looking towards a Super Bowl run. Some teams are looking towards where are we going to do for next season. So we want to talk about a few talking points for next season in the NFL. And I'm going to go ahead and start off with the main man, your main man. There is a new report that has just come out that the Las
No,
Vegas
Oakland.
Raiders are confirmed to be targeting Tom Brady this offseason. So my question that I'm going to pose to you, should Tom Brady go to the Raiders? And then who should be Tom Brady's number one destination if he's going to have his pick of the mill. So
Yeah.
should Tom Brady go to the Raiders? And then who should Tom Brady ultimately go to? You might say the Raiders, and then that answers the question. But if you don't say the Raiders, then who should he go to?
Obviously, I'd like for him to stay in Tampa. As bad and gloom as things are right now at the Bucks, I think they can make moves to improve upon what they have. But let's just put that look at a different reality where it's already set in stone that he's going to leave. This was a team that he wanted to go to. I mean, this is the he wanted to go to the Raiders. I mean, I believe it was Dana White who broke the news
Leaked it.
that
Leaked it.
that leaked it, that it
Gronk
was
was
the
going to go too.
Raiders. He was going to go, but the Raiders ended up not wanting to. And then it had that infamous line where Brady went on a pod and saying, "You want that fucking guy? You
Yeah,
want that guy?"
that was Derek
And
Carr.
it ended up talking about Derek Carr. And what a turn of events. I mean, we never really got to touch upon it because I did also want to, before I answer that question, I wanted to pose another one to you
Okay.
about, what your thoughts on them moving on from Derek Carr and, fully cutting it. Because to me, I thought that was somewhat shocking because, I mean, you look at like the Raiders last season, Derek Carr took them to the playoffs. I mean, and then you get Devontae Adams, best friends with Derek Carr, and after what looked like to be a poor season, but I don't know if I could fully blame Derek Carr, but I'll let you go into it before I go into more about the Tom Brady issue.
Derek Carr. I think all things considered, it's kind of shocking considering what they did by bringing in Devontae Adams, which is his guy, to Oakland. I keep saying Oakland to Las Vegas, but I don't think it's crazy. I think it's the right move. I think it's the right move for a few reasons. First of all, Devontae Adams is gonna succeed at any franchise, no matter who's quarterback. You could have me at quarterback, and I could get the ball to Devontae Adams.
Yeah,
So
that's not difficult.
Devontae Adams is not, gonna all of a sudden demand a trade because Derek Carr is gonna be gone. He's gonna stay in Las Vegas. He's already said that, and he's gonna, look forward to the next quarterback, maybe even Tom Brady, like we talked about. So since that's not the deal breaker, I think they did the right choice. Derek Carr. I think that this Raiders team has the ambitions of making the Super Bowl. They want to at least be a playoff team. They want to win a Super Bowl.
That's why they make moves like they did for Devontae.
That's where they want to be. And if that's where you want to be, Derek Carr was never going to be the guy to lead you to that point, especially what you see in the NFL now with, we're going to talk about this in a little bit here, but you got quarterbacks such as Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen. I mean, Justin Herbert in your division. You got Justin Herbert and Patrick Mahomes in your division that you're competing with, and you have Derek Carr. So that's never going to be enough to get you over the top. So I think they recognized that, and they said it's time to move on from Derek Carr and try to get a guy who can bring us at least to the playoffs, but potentially win a Super Bowl. And that's why they're targeting Tom Brady. That's why they're going to move on from Derek Carr. I think they made the right choice because they have ambition as a franchise, and I can respect that.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because, I mean,
I think he can still do good, though.
Yeah, I think
Derek Carr's a solid quarterback.
Yeah, I don't think this is it he's out the league. I just think the Raiders are just looking at it like how you're saying that they want to win a Super Bowl, but Derek Carr is not good enough to be a quarterback that leads a team to a Super Bowl. He can show you flashes. he can
Maybe in
show
the
you some
NFC.
flashes, you know, that this is why they had Derek Carr, but he's a bit too inconsistent, and
Yeah.
and it's a bit of a swing with the Raiders being bad and him being inconsistent. It's unfortunate,
Yeah.
but now going back to the main question that you
But I
posed,
will
that
just say, hypothetically speaking, like Carr can be good enough to lead you to a Super Bowl, but the situation has to be right. I'll just go ahead and use this as an example. Uh, like let's just you put Derek Carr on the 49ers, they're still a Super Bowl team. So
yeah,
if you have a good enough team around Derek Carr, you can make it to the Super Bowl with them. But the Raiders are
the
not.
Raiders, yeah.
The Raiders are
The
not
Raiders
that.
are in a position where they need that spectacular quarterback
Quarterback,
to
exactly,
elevate them
exactly,
to that, because they have to make up for the fact that they're horrid on defense. I mean, they're
exactly,
like they have a lot of things, like for example, like you said, the 49ers, they don't have to worry about that because their defense is so good.
exactly.
But the things what they're lacking in, they could be lacking. I mean, Brock Purdy's been doing well, but an elite level quarterback, they haven't had that elite quarterback. Because if they did, God have mercy. I mean, if they had someone like, middle of the pack, I mean, God have mercy, what 49ers would do. But let's before we went off that tangent, the question you asked is, do I think that Brady's going to go to the Raiders? Was that the question? I think.
Like if you're Tom Brady, like where would
Do
you
you go to
go?
the? Okay. You know, I think they burned the bridge. I don't think Brady really wants to go to the Raiders anymore. I think there's only one really real option, and that it's the Miami Dolphins. I mean, he wanted to go to the Dolphins. That's why the Dolphins lost one of their picks for trying to coerce Brady, talk to him when he was under contract. And everybody knows Brady has this castle on an island in a little, almost his own island there in Miami. He has a humongous house, and that's where he wants to be at. And when you compare the two, I mean, they're kind of similar. I mean, I think the Dolphins' defense is a little bit better than Raiders, but that's not saying much because how bad the Raiders are on defense. But when we talk about the offensive weapons, I mean, they're pretty comparable. I mean, the Raiders have Devontae Adams, but Miami
and
have
Josh
Tyreek
Jacobs, one of the
and
best
Josh
running
Jacobs.
backs. Yeah,
I mean, but we're also talking about the Miami Dolphins that have
yeah,
Jalen Waddle and Tyreek Hill. I
yeah.
mean, the the greatest deep threat duo, I mean, in the league right now. And to pair the fact with Tom Brady has already wanted to go to Miami, I think if there's anywhere he's going to go, it's going to be Miami. And seeing with how Tua is not really working out, that we don't even know he could retire. I mean, he just got ruled out for the playoffs. Who knows what happens with Tua?
Yeah.
If maybe if I were Brady, I would go to the Dolphins, and maybe if you were the Dolphins franchise, you still keep Tua, but you have him still as a backup because Brady's not going to be there forever. Tua is still a young quarterback. I mean, you could have Brady there for 2 more seasons, have Tua take whatever he can from Brady, and just try Tua again. This is stuff you can try and attempt. Do I think you just absolutely get rid of Tua? No, but it just depends what obviously Tua would like to do. But strictly Tom Brady, the best move for Tom Brady would be to go to the Miami Dolphins.
We'll see ultimately if the Dolphins end up being in that race to get him. I think that it's going to be interesting to see because those rumors are already starting up again, especially every time Tua, gets ruled out. More and more media outlets and also fans begin to start that rumor of Brady going to Miami, and because I think the Dolphins. I've talked about it before, but I think the Dolphins realize that they have a championship window right here, where if they get a proper quarterback that is able to be consistent and healthy for a full season, like Brady pretty much always is,
Mm-hmm.
that they can compete for a championship. They can compete for a Super Bowl. Are they going to win it? No, maybe not. The AFC is very stacked right now, but they would be in the running. They would have a chance. In the same way, you have, him taking the Bucks to the Super Bowl this year. I mean, like Brady, if you have Tom Brady on your team, you have a chance.
You
And I
have a
think
chance.
that's what the Dolphins are potentially looking at. But it's going to be interesting to see if they, what Tua does, how that all plays out. We don't know if the Dolphins are going to be 100% in the running yet.
Yeah.
We can assume that they will be, but we don't know. The
Well,
Raiders, we do
yeah.
know.
As of right now, the Raiders are 100% like without a shadow of a doubt in the running because we both mentioned the Dolphins. The Dolphins are 100% in, but the Raiders are.
Yeah,
So I think no matter what, I don't think Brady's going to stay at Tampa. I think he's wanting to have a change, and the Raiders wouldn't be a bad
but
try, because I mean there's stuff they can change. I mean they would. I mean, you have Tom Brady, the ultimate cap god. I mean,
he
this
would have
guy.
Josh McDaniels, his former offensive coordinator with the Patriots for all those years as his head
Yeah,
coach. So there's continuity there.
continuity.
He would have Devontae Adams, Josh Jacobs potentially if he resigns. They have some weapons. My thing is, and not to, I don't know what you were going to say, but if I'm Tom Brady, I wouldn't go to the Raiders, and I would do that for one reason. Now you go to the Raiders, you are essentially, I think, eliminating yourself from winning a Super Bowl. I think that's what happens if Tom Brady goes to the Raiders, and I don't think Tom Brady wants to do that. He wants to at least have a chance. And I don't think the Raiders, they would be the third best team in their division. Maybe the second. Depending on how the offseason plays out, they might be better than the Chargers. But the Chiefs are still top dogs, not only in their division, but the conference. And now Brady is going to be in the division with Patrick Mahomes, Justin Herbert, and then Tom Brady, and then Russell Wilson's also in there, but
Russell Wilson's in there,
I'm not
but
even counting him.
don't count him.
So Brady's going to go to a division where he might be the second or third best team in it. He's like, I don't know if that's what Brady's really looking at here. I think he wants to go to a team where he knows if I go there, I have a solid chance to compete for a championship.
Yeah, and I mean, it's slim pickings at the moment, because I mean, there's not a lot of teams that are in the position that are going to have an open spot for quarterback. Obviously, Brady's like, if you gave Brady the choice right now, what team would he pick? He picked the 49ers.
That's
But
what I was gonna say.
yeah, like I've said all before that I think if that was an option, yeah, that's the best option, to go to the 49ers, go back home, go to the team that he supported his entire life as a kid. But we've just seen that's not really how the 49ers are. They don't want a guy like Tom Brady that is just so polarizing, that that's just not the style of football they like to play. They kind of portray that style of like no player is bigger than the team. And that's what they kind of don't want Brady to come in here and start pointing fingers and start, changing things to how he wants to play. The 49ers are going to play 49er style football. They don't want to change to a Brady style football just because it's Brady.
Yeah, I would say if I'm Tom Brady, my options 1A and 1B are the 49ers and Dolphins respectively. The thing is, with both of these number one options, you don't know if they
You don't know.
fully are committed to wanting you yet. Like, we don't know what the 49ers are going to do. They have Trey Lance. Are they, going to go run it back with Trey Lance? Are they going to run it back with
That,
Jimmy G? We don't know.
yeah,
The
they
Miami
have three
Dolphins,
quarterbacks I think that they'd be happy to have instead of Tom Brady. I mean, I think they'd rather, like, realistically, I think they would have
run it
Brock
back with Brock
Purdy. I mean, to be
Purdy.
fair, yeah, because this is like, you gotta think of like the character McDaniels is. I mean, this is just what this is the type of move that he would do.
So then, if the 49ers are out, then Miami Dolphins. We don't know if they're in the running yet either. Like you talked about, they're probably closer to being in the running than the 49ers are.
Yeah,
More
yeah.
likely to be in the running because of all the, you know, the rumors from before. We already lost a draft pick trying to get him. The continuity between our owner and Tom Brady. He wants an ownership stake in the Dolphins. Things have aligned
That's funny.
to say, okay, Tom Brady might, it might happen. So if I'm Tom Brady, that's my number one option if the Niners aren't, wanting me, which I don't think they are. And then
Yeah.
after you get past those two options, it's kind of slim pickings in terms of championship contenders, I think. And that's when, if those two teams are saying, no, I'm good, that's when you look towards the Raiders. You look towards re-signing with the Bucks. You look towards potentially, I don't know, going to the Ravens to replace Lamar Jackson.
Oh
Because I think
God, no.
I'm just throwing things out there
Yeah,
that teams
that
that
is
might
another
need a
that is
quarterback.
another one. But my God, that would be really bad.
Teams that might need a quarterback. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, yeah.
'Cause with Tom Brady, you're looking at a team that is going to plug and play a quarterback and compete. And the Ravens they're at least a playoff team. I don't know.
I
Like
guess.
like I wouldn't want to go to Baltimore, but I mean, I think it's probably going to be either the Dolphins, Bucks, or Raiders for Tom Brady. If I had to bet, because I think ultimately, if the Dolphins don't want him, it's going to come down to does he want to re-sign with the Bucks and finish his career there, which might happen, or does he want to try it out with a different team, run it with the Raiders?
Yeah.
Maybe there's another team that I'm not thinking about that is going to enter the race, but I would say it's between the 49ers, Dolphins, Raiders, and then the Bucks to keep him. And I don't think the Niners are going to get him. Dolphins, we're not sure. Raiders, we know. Bucks, we know. We'll see.
Yeah, because I mean, I do agree with that. That's how he should be looking at it, and I think it can't just be easily forgotten that this Bucks team still has that core of the defense that they were.
It's
I mean,
not
they
Shaq
still.
Barrett coming back from
I
injury.
mean, yeah. I mean, they still have Vita Vea. They have Shaq Barrett coming back. They have Winfield Jr. They have these.
They
A
have a great
very
offensive line.
yeah, a
They
great
have pieces.
skeleton. I mean, what's his name? I keep forgetting his name. He got injured the first offensive lineman. He starts with a
Jensen.
J. Jensen. Yeah. I mean, we haven't seen him this whole season at all. I think he tried to play a little bit towards the beginning, but he just re-aggravated his injury.
Yeah,
So I,
couldn't
I
get it
think
done.
there is a lot of players that aren't superstars. Like they don't always make the front that are upper that people mostly talk about. But this is like very vital players
Yeah,
to like what the Bucks had in 2020 that what catapulted them to a Super
Super
Bowl,
Bowl.
and they still have them there.
They would just
So
probably need a couple things in free agency, which they would probably be able to get.
they could probably do. I mean, the Bucks can make moves. I mean, they can make moves. Like
And
any
if they
other.
get Tom Brady back, they will make moves.
Yeah, and I think they're a better situation, even though the Raiders have Devontae Adams and they have these offensive weapons compared to the Bucks. I mean, they still have Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, and freaking Gronk could come back. Who
If
knows
it's
about what Gronk wants to do
if it's
ever?
between the Bucks and Raiders,
I think
like,
you go
I
Bucks.
think you go back to the Bucks not only because I think the Bucks have the opportunity to make more moves, but also I would rather compete in the NFC at the moment than the AFC.
Yeah,
The only way
it
I'm going to the AFC is if it's with the Miami Dolphins because I think that they can compete with the Buffalo Bills. They can compete with the Chiefs with Tom Brady. I don't think the Raiders are just you get Tom Brady, they can compete with those teams. I don't think that's the case.
yeah.
So why would I
So
want to go and face those teams consistently when I can stay in the NFC, make the playoffs as a
with
as
the,
a 4 seed with the losing record?
with a losing record, that's nice.
So it's a weaker conference, more opportunity to be the best team in that conference. I mean, realistically, the Bucks they improve a couple things. They could make a Super Bowl run in the NFC because there's not that many dominant teams in that besides like the Niners and Eagles maybe. And
and
then
Cowboys.
I guess Cowboys. And then realistically, they're in the Super Bowl playing against an AFC team. They only have to face one AFC team. They only have to face one. Whether that's the Bengals next season, the Bills, the Chiefs, whatever you want to say, they only got to face one instead of having to play
Mhm.
all of them.
So I mean, yeah, like so the main consensus of this is it should be, Dolphins, re-sign with the Bucks or Raiders
Raiders,
if you really want to get out of
you got to
Tampa.
stay in Florida.
Yeah, I got to might as well stay in Florida. Like we said, he has that basically that castle in Miami. I
Yeah, stay in
mean,
Florida, bro.
God.
Tom Brady. I know. Look, I know he's watching this, so just stay in Florida.
Yeah. Tom's watching this, on his he took a break from watching film.
Yeah. Well, I mean, by the time he sees this, he might be not be watching film. Might be losing to the Cowboys. We'll see.
He's
We'll
not
talk about
losing to
that in
the
a little bit.
Cowboys. But
But
yeah, to the next, the final topic before we actually get
get into the
into
playoffs.
our, playoffs. Yeah,
So DeAndre Hopkins, obviously, we all know how good of a receiver he is. He is. The Cardinals are pretty much clearing house. They fired their coach, fired their general manager. They're getting rid of
basically.
everybody, and they're gonna keep building around Kyler Murray. It looks like, but there's not gonna be DeAndre Hopkins no more. He's expected to be traded in this offseason. Obviously, I mean, every team could be looking to add a wide receiver as good as DeAndre Hopkins. So I want to pose the question to you first about, who should trade for DeAndre Hopkins? Because literally, I think every team is in the running if they want him.
Yeah,
The asking price is not going to be that bad, like in terms of a draft pick or anything. So every team is in the running realistically. So where do you think he should go? What team should be reaching out and making this move happen?
I mean, what team could not use DeAndre Hopkins? I mean, but I think when I think about one team that should do this, an owner who's talked about plunging to win, that a guy that we've talked about so much already, a guy who said that you wouldn't want to see the check he'd write to win a Super Bowl again, and that
Oh,
and that is Jerry Jones,
wow.
the Cowboys. I think the Cowboys should be all over this. If you're not gonna get Odell, because yeah, some people will have little ifs that Odell maybe not as good as as people portray him to be. But this is DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah.
Like it's different levels. Like Odell is a great receiver, but this is DeAndre Hopkins. With him being a little bit older, but there's a lot that he can still offer. I think he can offer a little bit more than Odell Beckham. We just haven't been he hasn't been given the opportunity to a team that can actually contend. And if you think about a Cowboys team with DeAndre Hopkins and CD Lamb and all the other offensive weapons, I mean their run game to add on to that. I mean that's an offense that has to be reckoned with. That's an offense that could beat any team in the league. And I think I'm surveying the land as DeAndre Hopkins, I think that's one of the best spots to go, other than maybe the 49ers, I guess. I mean, the 49ers are already so stacked. I mean, who else wouldn't want to
I mean,
go to the
they got
49ers?
Debo, they got Brandon Ayuk. I mean, yeah,
Yeah,
sure. DeAndre Hopkins would make any team better, but
yeah, and like maybe the fuck the Chiefs. I mean, he joins
maybe
the
that's what I
Chiefs,
was
and
gonna
my
say.
God, like there's a lot of teams you could say like, oh, they're like a DeAndre Hopkins away from really making a splash. Like the only teams that you could probably say no was like the Dolphins, Raiders, or like maybe even I mean, it'd be crazy to say the Bucks, I guess, because they already have kind of a stacked
They
receiver
have
core. There's probably others.
Godwin, Mike
Yeah, they have
Evans,
Chris Godwin, Mike Evans, and there's probably other stuff they'd want to get
instead of
instead
spending
of
that
it.
money on a receiver. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, if it were me, if I were DeAndre Hopkins, I would be looking to go to Dallas.
I like that move. I think it would make CeeDee Lamb a number 2 receiver, and if CeeDee Lamb is your number 2 receiver, you're looking pretty
You're
good.
doing good. You're
You're doing
doing
pretty
great.
good.
You're
Because
doing
CeeDee Lamb has
great.
had a good season. He's kind of been the number 1, right now. And you said that he probably might not be a full true on number 1, but he's done a half decent job
I,
this
I think
season
I think he's like right.
on the
I'd have
precipice.
on the precipice of like a top 10. I think
Oh,
he's like, I think I'd have to look at every single wide receiver because God, there's so many of them,
so many
but
good
he
ones right
had
now. Yeah.
let's just say he has like within like very good top 10 talent. Like he's very talented. He has these flashes to where that's 88. That's CD, but then he has stinkers.
Yeah.
I've had him in fantasy, so I mean sometimes it hasn't looked very good. I'm not doing very good in fantasy.
I'm gonna throw a little bit of a curveball here, and this is not necessarily what I would like to happen, but this is something that I don't know if they have the cap space necessarily to make it all work. I think they would maybe be able to find a way. They have a lot of already stars on this team with a lot of cap space being used, so I don't know if they could be in the running to do it. But I think if I'm the Los Angeles Chargers, I'm making a phone call. I think
Do
you
everything you
have
can.
Justin Herbert. You just made the playoffs as the 5th seed. You have a chance to beat Jacksonville. That's not the point. Even if you lose to Jacksonville, I think you added DeAndre Hopkins to this offense with Keenan Allen, Mike Williams,
Mike Williams.
and then Austin Eckler, and then you got Justin Herbert as a quarterback that's only getting better, and you give him a DeAndre Hopkins wide receiver, a guy who can go up and get any pass. He can run every route. He can be the deep threat. He can be the guy who runs slants. He can do everything you want your wide receiver to do at the highest level, and then some. So you give Justin Herbert him. I think we're talking about the Chargers as a Super Bowl contender next season. I thought they were going to contend this year. They got a little bit banged up on defense.
Mm-hmm.
If they add DeAndre Hopkins, their offense becomes one of the best in football. And then that defense gets a little healthy. If they have even a top 15, top 12 defense, it's time to talk. You would be talking about the Chargers as a Super Bowl contender, even though they're going to compete against the Chiefs in their division. That's going to be tough. But the Chargers are going to be right there if they did do that. However, there's another team in their division that you talked about, but who could be making a running for him as well, and I think that would be a good fit, obviously as well. The Chiefs. What's stopping them from going out and making
Well,
this move? Nothing's stopping
to
them.
make a duo of Patrick Mahomes and DeAndre
DeAndre Hopkins.
Hopkins.
That's like you got rid of Tyreek Hill and then you slot in a DeAndre Hopkins. 2 seasons later,
That's
that's pretty good.
that's about as best you can get because you
And
can't.
they're looking
Yeah,
at they might lose Juju. This offseason. They signed him on a 1-year deal to Juju was trying to refine himself in the league. After this season, they might lose Juju. They're going to be looking to replace Juju. Boom, you replace him with DeAndre Hopkins. That's an
DeAndre,
upgrade.
that's
And
a
it might
sizable
only
upgrade.
it might not even cost you a first round pick. That's what makes this trade so crazy because they're talking about Hopkins might not even go for a first round pick. I think every team in the NFL should be like
Everybody.
if
If you're the Jags,
if it's gonna
you try and get
if it's
DeAndre
gonna cost
Hopkins.
you only a second round pick, everyone should be making the phone call. Everybody. So nothing is stopping the Chiefs from making that phone call. I think when you look at if I'm DeAndre Hopkins at this point, I want to go to a true contender. So Chargers, Chiefs. I don't think Cincinnati's looking for a wide receiver. They're already too stacked. The Buffalo, maybe I wouldn't, and I don't
I
think they're
get.
looking for it.
I mean, okay. Let's just take a second. Hopkins and Diggs
And then with
for
Josh Allen,
Christ of mercy, what the hell? But yeah, I mean, they were in the running to get Odell. Just think about bear in mind that obviously we don't know the cap space. A team could really pick up Odell Beckham and DeAndre Hopkins because
yeah,
Odell's on a free. And all you would have to give us a second round pick to get D-Hop. To get that level, just to go from nothing to something like that, you could literally change your life.
yeah. So besides those two teams, because the Chiefs and the Chargers, I think those are two teams that you add DeAndre Hopkins just by himself to those teams. The Chiefs are already contenders. You add DeAndre Hopkins
Yeah.
to that Chargers team, I think they become contenders. A couple
Hopkins and Kelsey.
a couple teams that are a little bit on the outside looking in terms of where they rank in the NFL right now, but could make that push up into that category. First team on the list, I would only do this if another thing happens, but the New York Jets, they were looking at getting Tyreek Hill last offseason. They got beat out by the Miami Dolphins. I think it's not too crazy for them to say, we need to go get a star wide receiver. Let's make it happen. They have Garrett Wilson, who just torched my Miami Dolphins last week with Joe Flacco at quarterback. I think Garrett Wilson's going to be a great receiver in the future. But if they're able to get DeAndre Hopkins for like a second round pick or something, and then they go ahead and make the move that a lot of people are thinking that they're going to at least offer and try to trade for Lamar Jackson,
My God.
DeAndre Hopkins on the Jets. That makes them, I don't know about contenders, but they're going to be a good team now.
They'd be a very good team.
A very good team with that defense. Adding Lamar Jackson, DeAndre Hopkins to the Jets, I mean, that would be making a splash.
Jesus.
And I don't want it to happen because I'm a Dolphins fan. Obviously, I don't want it to happen.
that would be
happen,
a huge splash. I mean, that's life changing.
That's a little bit of a curveball out there. Like if that does happen, like I could see that. I could, I don't know if Lamar's going to get traded.
Another one that I saw some people talk about was the Patriots.
I saw that too.
I saw the Patriots throw their hats.
He's a big fan of Bill Belichick. He said that he said in the past he wants to play under him.
Yeah,
if he's going to do that, this is his chance.
What would that be the best move like for winning?
No, I don't think so.
No, absolutely not.
I'd rather go so far away, even if they get him.
But yeah, I mean, unless they obviously things land perfectly with the Jets or obviously the other teams that we named before, but and it depends what money Hopkins is also going. I mean, they're going to pick up his current contract, his current deal.
The report said that they're expected. He's expected to demand a new contract with whatever team. So I mean, long term.
I mean, it depends on what money he's also going to be asking for. I mean,
exactly.
I don't know what the Patriots are going to be mostly willing to fork up for DeAndre. It depends where he values himself.
Yeah, at this point, after he he's still DeAndre Hopkins, but he's coming off of a season where he was suspended for PEDs at the
Yeah, for
beginning.
PEDs
So
and stuff.
his value is probably a little bit low compared to what it was in the past.
I mean, yeah, because I mean, everybody remembers that at a point it was D Hop or Devonte Adams, give or take
Who's the
whoever,
best? Yeah.
who's the best. But now just been so embarrassment of riches at wide receiver that we have
That
Justin
people
Jefferson, Tyreek
and
Hill. That
now
people
because
forget.
of
People forget what D Hop can
exactly
do.
people forget about D Hop because of the explosion of wide receiver talent we've had in this little short hiatus of when
Yeah,
Arizona have been trash and D Hop gets suspended. So you add all those things together, people
yeah.
forget how good D Hop
I
was
mean,
and is.
like Cooper Cup has that historic season. I mean, everybody knows
And
how
nobody
good
even talks
Tyreek
about him
Hill is.
anymore because he was
He's
injured.
been
But
injured too, and I know Jamar Chase, all these guys that
AJ
just
Brown with
explode.
Philadelphia, you got
I mean,
Diggs. I mean, so many guys.
you, I didn't even name Diggs. I almost forgot about Diggs. Exactly, like it's that same thing. But
CD, we never talked about
DeAndre
him.
DeAndre Hopkins was at the top of the game. I mean, this guy's one of the best hands you're ever gonna see. Like
Yeah,
this guy
and
has the greatest hands.
even if he isn't the number one receiver in the NFL anymore, you're still gonna get a guy who could be top 5
Yeah,
for a second
yeah,
round pick.
yeah. Top 5 talent for a second round pick.
That's just maybe even a third rounder. I don't know what it's going to be, but we know it's not going to be a first.
Yeah,
That's what they're
because I mean,
saying.
Arizona is clearing house. I mean, they're just freaking basically get everybody get out of here, kick them out.
So, I I mean, I would give a second round pick all day for him, but if they're willing to do it for a third rounder, I mean, okay. I mean, whatever.
You
That's
got
even
to you
better.
got you got to get the business book out, man. Start trying to get this deal done. But I think the to conclude this, I went with the Cowboys. I think this is a for everything Jerry Jones preaches, this is a move that you have to make. There's not a lot of superstars like D Hop, and I mean to get D Hop to play in Dallas, the biggest team in the league, that
It
would
would be a
be
splash.
headlines. That would
It
be
would be a
huge.
splash. Yeah.
But
I think that would be a fantastic move. If I have to say one team, um, I would put it between the Chiefs and the Chargers. But I'm gonna say what team I'm gonna go with. Maybe not that. I would prefer to see him go to the Chiefs because I like the Chiefs more. But the team that needs him more, Los Angeles Chargers, and I think
yeah,
that they
because the
are.
Chiefs are
He,
already they're pretty
he
good
Los
even without
Angeles
him.
as well. They're willing to make splashes. I'm gonna go with the Chargers.
Yeah, that's
That's where he should potentially go. But it's a open ended question almost because it's not even where should he go because he could go anywhere. Every
he
team
could
is
literally
looking
go
for him.
anywhere.
He could go anywhere. So we could sit here and talk for hours about every 32 all 32 franchises in the NFL and make the case why he should go there or why that team should trade for him. And you can make the case because he's that good. And he's available so freely. A second round pick, third round pick.
Yeah,
But I mean, obviously, we're not going to sit here and do that. We've already talked about him. We've talked about what 5-6 teams or whatever, and so whatever.
I think that wraps up our little side plot topics.
And expect the side plots to continue more and more so as the NFL offseason develops. We know the draft. There's so much more to come. This is only the what is it called? Like the beginning. This is only the beginning of the NFL offseason that I think we're gonna get one of the craziest NFL off seasons of all time this season. I'm excited for it. I think there's going to be big moves, splashes being made, teams trying to turn around their franchise. Lamar Jackson potentially on the move, D Hop. I mean, we're gonna see some big splashes, and you can not only get your news about it here. I'm gonna be the first one to post about it,
Gonna
but
be
also you
camping
can
it.
get our thoughts about all of these upcoming moves here on the pod in the upcoming episodes because they're coming.
Absolutely.
But without further ado, it is time to officially start talking about the NFL playoffs. It's taken us this long to get here. We're talking about the NFL playoffs. We already did our predictions for Wild Card Weekend and every other game after that. We kind of predicted based on who we thought would win Wild Card Weekend. We did our full NFL playoff bracket. Check out that video. I'll put it up above G's head over there. G point. The video
I'll
will be right up there. You can go ahead and click on it and watch that. So that's like our bracket all the way through the playoffs. Obviously, we might get some wrong. Well, we're guaranteed one of us is going to get something wrong because we picked different
I
picks.
think we're gonna. Yeah, it's guaranteed we're gonna get something wrong.
So, obviously, like we did throughout the regular season, next week we'll talk about who we think is going to win the divisional matchups, and then we'll do a pick 'em. The only reason we're not doing a pick 'em this time is because we already did it on the previous
On
video.
the
So go ahead
video.
and check that out, see who we picked. But there is some news in the NFL playoffs itself, and then we'll go ahead and preview. A spoiler here: we're going to preview the Cowboys and Bucks because I think that is the
The marquee
most,
matchup.
for me, the marquee matchup and also the most interesting matchup of the weekend. Because in my opinion, I'll go ahead and just start off this wild card conversation in general here before we get into the actual point. This wild card weekend on paper is going to be not as exciting as you would like, I think. There's some dull matchups, and mostly because of injuries, I would say. Bills Dolphins at the beginning of the season, if we said we were going to get that matchup wild card weekend, sign me up. It's going to be a fantastic game. But now it's going to be Skylar Thompson versus Josh Allen. Nobody wants to watch that.
Oh
Nobody
God.
Lamar Jackson versus Joe Burrow, sign me up. But Tyler Snoop Huntley
Snoop.
versus Joe Burrow, don't sign me up for that. I don't want to watch that. So the matchups that could have been so great aren't going to be that great. And it's unfortunate. And then we get Niners, Seahawks. I mean, the matchups aren't that great. I could talk about every single one, but it's not that great. You can see who we picked. But I think already hinted at it here. It has been reported that Lamar Jackson and Tua Tagovailoa are both officially not playing this weekend. So I'm going to go ahead and pass this off to you. You can take this together. You can talk about each one as an individual case, whatever you want to do here. But what is your initial thoughts to Lamar and Tua both being out?
I mean, it's unfortunate, like you said. I mean, these were matchups we would have loved to see. I mean, who doesn't want to see Lamar Jackson versus Joe Burrow? I mean, those are two of the best we can offer, and that the Tua-led Dolphins. I mean, we saw what Tua was able to do with this Dolphins team earlier this season to get to 8-3, and we'd hope they'd be able to resemble have a little bit of a sliver of that same team they were come playoff time against this Bills team. But unfortunately, we didn't get that. I mean, that's just how the game is. It's a cruel game, and there's not really much else I can almost even say about it. I mean, they've kind of not ruined the games, but not made them as competitive as they probably should have been. Because, I mean, if the Ravens had Lamar, I mean, when Lamar was healthy, I mean, Lamar was playing well. I mean, this season, Lamar, I mean, towards the beginning of the season, some people were already giving him early MVP shots again. So, I mean, he can give you flashes because that's how good Lamar is. I mean, if Lamar is playing against the Bengals team, that's almost a coin flip just because that's how good Lamar Jackson is. He can win you games on his own. And as far as the Dolphins and Tua situation, I mean, who knows? I mean, we saw they're 1-1 right now of the season. I mean, they're tied up. I mean, if Tua is healthy, this Dolphins team is fully healthy, who knows what happens? Because we've seen the Bills play down to opponents that they on paper are better than.
Yeah.
We
just saw them play a few weeks ago with Tua, and
it was
a very close game.
A very competitive game. So this Bills team struggles a little bit against the Dolphins, but now we unfortunately don't get to see it. So I mean,
they're not going to struggle this way.
I doubt they're gonna struggle. Voice crack. They're gonna struggle now, but it's just how the game is.
I think the interesting point about these two guys, and I'll talk about it myself here when I go ahead and give my thoughts, but I'll pose the question to you. Do you think you can, and take this as two separate entities, obviously, do you think that these guys could have potentially played their last days of football with both of these franchises? Like, do you think Lamar is done with the Ravens, and do you think Tua might be done with the Dolphins?
If I were to maybe like
put a stamp on it, rephrase. I don't think I phrased the question the right way.
No, I think you phrased it good, but how I probably see it, like, who's more likely to?
Okay.
I think Tua is more likely to stay at the Dolphins, and I don't think this will be his last run with them because I don't think he'll retire. I think worst that could happen is that they get Tom Brady and Tua gets put as a backup.
Mm-hmm.
That's a possibility, but more with Lamar is that I think it might be Lamar's final because I think the relationship has just been tanked down. And I think the Ravens have taken a weird stance to where they're like, we're not gonna offer him a new deal.
Yeah.
We're just not gonna do it.
And they just paid
And
Roquan Smith over
yeah,
him.
like they're giving everybody else deals except Lamar.
Yeah.
I don't know if this is like a like
They gave
to
Roquan
get
Smith 200 million. I mean,
I don't know if this is like they're trying to get at Lamar a little bit, trying to tease him or something. I don't know. This is some sick
it's
joke.
kind
I
of
don't
disrespectful.
like they're because they know they're gonna franchise tag him, or I don't know what they're. I mean, like realistically, like if you don't want it, might as well just trade for him. Because there's a lot of teams that will give you a lot for
A
Lamar
lot. A
Jackson.
lot.
So
Yeah.
I mean, if that bridge is burned, then yeah, trade him. So I think that is the more likely scenario that this could be it for Lamar Jackson. This could be the last time we ever see his name on that roster sheet.
Yeah. I agree, and I'll talk about that point first. I think if I'm answering it the way that you phrased it, I think that Lamar Jackson, if I'm putting a bet on it right now, I think he's not a Baltimore Raven next season. I think he's going to find a new home, whether that's the Miami Dolphins and they find a way to make the trade happen, whether that's the New York Jets, they find a way to make the trade happen. I mean, there's a lot of quarterback needy teams that are going to try to find a way to trade for Lamar Jackson, and I expect Baltimore to franchise tag him, but then I could see Lamar holding out and saying, I'm not going to play. And then what are they going to do? They're kind of forced to do
To trade.
something because Lamar will happily, sit out. And
Because I mean, even some people think he's sitting out already,
now, exactly.
because that he's looked at. Some people think he should be fit and healthy to play, but he's choosing not to play, which is
Like,
because why risk it?
yeah,
Because
why?
you're why go out there and risk your health anymore for a franchise that doesn't want to play ball, that don't want to
And
give
they're
you
not
the
going to give you.
contract. You cut out a little bit. What'd you say?
I said, like, why would you risk your health if they're not going to give you your money?
Yeah, it's like it doesn't make sense. Well, it's not smart business. I mean, they're going to franchise tag you, and if you look about the amount of money that he's made compared to like a Patrick Mahomes or a Josh Allen, like it's laughable. For I mean, Lamar's won an MVP, man. I mean, it's like you can look at it and be like, oh yeah, I mean that's like a one-off thing, but Lamar's always been,
A
you
great
know,
quarterback,
a
one of the
great
best in the
quarterback,
league.
and he's getting better. I mean, we saw little flashes that he's throwing the football better than he
Better.
has before,
Yeah.
and he's still running and he's running smarter.
Yeah.
He's starting to slide and
Sliding.
he's starting.
Yeah.
And we thought we wouldn't see that, but I don't know why the Ravens have taken this weird high road that like Lamar. I don't know what Lamar thinks he is. I mean, he's just a guy that's just trying to get paid. I mean, for
Yeah.
his play style, he wants guaranteed money. I mean, it's just like the big events, like a Kyler Murray gets that big deal, and you're just like Kyler Murray gets that money, and
But
Lamar
Lamar,
can't get anything. It's
yeah,
like it's disrespect. So
it
yeah,
is.
I can, and especially for a guy like Lamar that's prideful. I mean, all players at this level are very prideful. I mean, they take this shit to heart. So I doubt that he's ever going to want to play. He's not going to want to play for this team no more.
And Lamar holds more leverage than people think, and like he can kind of. People think that just because the franchise tag is there, that Lamar holds no leverage, like he needs to just come back. But like I said, they can franchise him. Lamar says, "Okay, I'm not going to play." Then what are you going to do? You're going to lose Lamar for free instead of getting something for him? Because at that
Get
point,
something.
if it comes to that point, then the bridge is fully burned. Like even if you went to him and offered him the contract, he's not taking it. He would rather play somewhere else. The bridge is burned. The relationship is gone. So at that point, Lamar is going to do it out of spite, and he holds the leverage to say, "Okay, I'm not going to let you get nothing for me." That he's okay with doing that. So other teams, whether it's the Jets, whether it's the Dolphins, and I think the Jets are more likely because I think the Jets have more capital to make a
Yeah,
trade happen. But I wouldn't rule out the Dolphins somehow finding a way, leveraging their future. If they
dude,
if
don't
they're if they're
fuck them
gonna
picks.
yeah, fuck them picks. Like if they're really saying, okay, we got to move on from Tua, and we want a guy who can be the future for a longer period of time. You add Lamar to this Dolphins team. I mean,
My God,
come on,
Jesus.
bro. Like they like I would say, in my opinion, they played themselves out of a trade by getting Bradley Chubb and giving away that first round pick to get him. If they still had that, maybe I would say they're in the race. It would be tough to do now. Not impossible, but tough. But stranger things have happened. If Lamar really wants to get to Miami, he can get to Miami, and he's a Florida boy at heart. That's where he came from. So
That's where
maybe that's
he's
where he
from.
wants to. Maybe
You know,
that's where he wants to go. We'll see. But ultimately, I think my point is Lamar. I think he is on his way out of Baltimore. It's the end of an era. And Baltimore just played this situation absolutely terribly. They're going to kick themselves in the future. And I think Lamar, whatever team he goes to next, is going to flourish. Because Lamar, he never got the weapons around him in Baltimore that he needed, especially given the fact that Lamar wasn't making no money. So you had the cap space to get guys around him, and they didn't. So if a team is going to go ahead and give Lamar the bag, they are also going to say, okay, we gave you the bag. Now we have to get somebody around you to help you win because now we gave you the bag. And we're not just going to give you the bag for nothing. This team is going to want to win. If you go to the Dolphins, they already got Tyreek Hill,
Yeah.
Jalen Waddle. I mean, they're set.
Embarrassment of riches.
But that's why I said earlier, think about the New York Jets. What if they said, okay, we got a couple young guys in here. We're going to trade to get Lamar Jackson. Then we're going to trade and get you a number one DeAndre Hopkins. Boom. That's a statement.
Right there. Yeah, right there.
I think Lamar is going to want to go to a team where he has a number one receiver. He's going to want. I think he's not going to do this just to go to a team that he's not going to have a chance to win and succeed with. So I think that's my point. And with Tua, it's you can sit here and question it. It's going to be. It's hard to even predict. It's hard to even have a real prediction on it because he might just retire, and that's the whole. It put the spanner in the mix that that could happen. He might just retire, and even if he doesn't retire, there's a chance that the Dolphins say it's time to move on. We want a guy who's going to be more durable. We want a guy who we can trust that can play all 17 games, or for the most part. They get Lamar. He's been injured, and it's But the point is, Tua, his issues. He's had a hip issue, in Alabama. They knew that when they drafted him. Now the head issues with, concussions, and that's something you don't really want to play with, especially the way the NFL is moving towards.
Yeah, right.
Lamar doesn't. Lamar might have a couple injuries here and there, but not to not head injuries, not concussions. You don't play with concussions. The NFL is watching Tua like a hawk, watching the Dolphins. They might just say, I've had enough. I want to kind of move on, move forward, and they might find a way out. There's so many different ways the Tua situation could go that it's hard to fully even predict. He could be coming back up to Tom Brady. I don't know. He might end up being traded to Baltimore in a Lamar Jackson trade. I mean, who really knows? Who really knows? Remains to be seen. It's hard to even put a prediction on it. If I had to put a prediction gun to my head right now, I think Tua, he's playing somewhere else next season as well. But I could be wrong on that, and they really believe in Tua, and they think, okay, we've seen enough success out of him this year. We're going to stick with him. But I don't know where the Dolphins' head is at as a franchise. It might change after we get spanked this weekend against Buffalo, and they say, Tyreek Hill comes into the front office and says, "Look, man, I want to win.
I want to win." Yeah,
that's what So it remains to be seen. It's going to be interesting.
Well, yeah, only time will tell.
Yeah. Oh, I thought you were going to introduce us to our next topic.
I was waiting for you to do it. No, but okay, I'll do it. Now, our next topic is something that I was a bit excited to see, that we're going to rank all the quarterbacks going in to this playoff run. Yep. And I will pass this off to you because I want to hear your, 1 through 14, your ranking of the quarterbacks in the playoffs.
To add a little bit of suspense, I'll go from 14 to 1.
I was thinking about, should we go 14 to 1 or what? Okay.
I'm gonna go 14 to 1 because I think it's more. We know who's gonna be 14. We don't know who's gonna be 1. I think it's more.
Yeah.
We gotta figure it out. But at number 14, I have Skylar Thompson from the Miami Dolphins. This guy shouldn't even be on the list. The fact that he's on a list of playoff quarterbacks is an absolute disgrace to the Miami Dolphins franchise, the NFL as a whole. You never want to see Skylar Thompson on any list, and he's on this list of playoff quarterbacks at last place because he's shit. He's terrible.
I mean,
there's not enough bad things to say about Skylar Thompson. We're going to lose by 50.
Poor Skylar Thompson.
Okay. Number 13 on the list, Tyler Snoop Huntley from the Baltimore Ravens.
My boy.
I got to put the backups last year, Thompson and then Tyler Huntley. He's not that good. He's better than Skylar Thompson, but that's not saying much. I mean, he has. I'm not giving the Ravens much hope against the Bengals, and that's partially because of him. If they had Lamar, maybe they'd have more of a chance. Huntley is just not that good. Number 12, A little bit of a surprise here, but I'm gonna go ahead and put Brock Purdy here. So I put Brock Purdy here just because talent speaking, I don't think he's better than these other guys. I think he just has the best team, around
Hmm.
him. So I think a lot of quarterbacks could succeed with this Niners team. But, he's a better quarterback than Skylar Thompson and Huntley from what I've seen, but not better than some of these other guys on the list. Number 11, Daniel Jones. Daniel Jones, he's an all right quarterback. I don't think he's going to lead you to too much success in the playoffs, but he's good enough to get you this far. And I think that they will win against Minnesota. But I don't think he's taking you to an NFC Championship game. Not definitely not taking you to a Super Bowl. You'd have to have a crazy good team around him. So Daniel Jones, he's better than the other guys, but not that great. Number 10, I'm gonna put Geno Smith, and you could make the argument that Geno should be a little bit higher, but the second half of the season, he hasn't been the same as what we saw in the first half. He took a little bit of a regression, but I still think he's had a great season. Solid quarterback. He's proven that he should be a starter in this league, for a team, whether that's Seattle continuing and going forward or a different team in free agency. Number 9, I'm going to go ahead and put Kirk Cousins. And, Kirk, He's not he's not the greatest quarterback in the world, but he's good enough to get you to a certain point. He's good enough to succeed in the regular season. He's a solid quarterback, and he can go off on you at any moment. He's a really solid quarterback, but he's nothing too special. He's not at the upper echelon of the league. Number 8, this is where I have Dak Prescott. I got Dak at number 8, and Dak, if Dak is on form, firing the way that he can fire, you could make the point he should be higher on this list. But I'm talking about right now at this very moment, I can't have Dak any higher than 8 because from what I've been seeing recently from Dak, it hasn't been good. Interceptions, mistakes. He's holding Dallas back almost at the moment. So that's why I have Dak at number 8. But Dak has the potential to be higher. But right now at 8. Number 7, Trevor Lawrence. And Trevor Lawrence has impressed me a lot this season. I think he's going to be a star in the future for Jacksonville. He had one bad year, kind of his rookie season because of Urban Meyer and that whole situation. But, now that he has a proper coach in Doug Peterson, Trevor Lawrence is going to be a star. He's already number 7 on this list. And I think in the years to come, he's going to only get better. Number 6, and this is when it starts to get a little juicy here. I have Justin Herbert here at number 6. And he's only going to get better. He's probably going to end up in years to come higher on this list. But for right now, number 6, I think he's like with these guys, that's this top 6 almost. It's like they're so minuscule of details between them. These guys are all so good. This is like picking the cream of the crop. But I'm going to go Herbert at 6. And then number 5. Now, this is a guy. Look, I think you have him higher. But this is where I put Tom Brady. I put Tom Brady at number 5. I think if I'm just talking about like all time, obviously, like, okay, this is the guy you want in the playoffs. He's number 1. But based on the performances I've seen from this season, just this season alone, standalone, I think he's been just as good as Justin Herbert. Statistically speaking, they have very similar statistics. And I give Brady the edge over Herbert this season in the playoffs because of that experience that Herbert doesn't have. So then number 4, I got Jalen Hurts. At one point was the MVP favorite right there with Patrick Mahomes, got injured. So, we're unsure about where he really is standing at the moment. We don't know if he's going to be back exactly to where they were firing. Also, the Eagles, they're not looking like the same team that they were at the beginning of the season because of injuries. But Jalen Hurts by himself, he's definitely like a top 5 quarterback in this playoffs. I have him at number 4. I think he's going to take the Eagles to the NFC Championship game and ultimately lose to the 49ers. But I think Hurts is going to play a big role in that. Then my top 3. Number 3, I got Josh Allen. And I was debating putting Hurts at 3 and Allen at 4, but I'm going to go ahead and give Josh Allen the edge here because even though he makes mistakes and he's sometimes inconsistent in the red zone and he's interceptions, and fumbles, sometimes they happen for Josh Allen. Just based on what he can do, There are throws Josh Allen has made just last week against the Patriots and throughout this whole season that almost no other quarterback can make. And that's what makes me put Josh Allen at 3 because between his rushing ability, he's almost like a linebacker, and the way he can throw the ball. Besides the sometimes the mistakes he makes, this guy could lead the Bills to a Super Bowl. So that's why I'm going to put him at 3. And my top 2. Number 2, you could make the argument he should be number 1. But I'm going to go ahead and put Joe Burrow. And the reason why I'm going to put Joe Burrow at 2 ahead of Josh Allen is because I think Burrow can pretty much do everything Josh Allen can do for the most part. Josh Allen might be able to throw it a little bit further, might be able to do a little more flair, but Joe Burrow doesn't make the mistakes that Josh Allen makes. I think Joe Burrow, he's already taken the Bengals to a Super Bowl, and I think he might be, on the way to doing that again, even though I have them losing in the AFC Championship game. I think Burrow, the way he's been playing right now, you could make the debate that he should be number 1. But the real reason why I don't have him at number 1 is because I have the MVP, in my opinion, Patrick Mahomes at number 1. I think he's going to lead the Chiefs to the Super Bowl. I think he has been the best quarterback in the league this season. And it's crazy to say that because he doesn't have Tyreek Hill. And we thought it would be a regression. Instead, he's improved. His stats have gotten better. This guy is the guy in the NFL at the moment, the best quarterback in the NFL. No one's really doing it like him, the way that he can be. He might make a mistake every now and then, but he has flair and he can do the little things right. And that's what I like about him. He can kind of do both. Sometimes he gets a little bit too rambunctious and he makes a mistake, but then he'll lock back in and he can do the little things and be consistent. That's what I like about Patrick Mahomes. That's what he's done all of this season, and that's why he's number 1.
Okay. Nah, that's a respectable list. I liked how you did give solid reasonings on why each person was in their position.
So I'm for a clip's sake, because obviously I can't fit all that into a minute clip. Running back through the list quickly. 14, I got Skylar Thompson. 13, Tyler Huntley. Number 12, Brock Purdy. Number 11, Daniel Jones. Number 10, Geno Smith. Number 9, Kirk Cousins. Number 8, Dak Prescott. Number 7, Trevor Lawrence. Number 6, Justin Herbert. Number 5, Tom Brady. Number 4, Jalen Hurts. Number 3, Josh Allen. 2, Joe Burrow. Number 1, Patrick Mahomes. And then now you can go.
Okay, yeah.
So run through your list kind of like how I did, and then and then run back over it like I did at the end. That's the best way to do it.
Yeah. Okay. So similar to you, I started out number 14 with Skylar Thompson. There's not really much to say. I mean, I think I'd compare to every great quarterback that's in the playoffs at the moment. Being a backup, he's not the greatest. He's a bit shit. So not much to be said. No wasting time. Number 13, Tyler Snoop Huntley. Similar to you, got to get the backups out of here. I'm sure, he's a good quarterback. I guess, but compared to these guys, we're talking about the upper echelon. So he gets in at number 13. Number 12, similar to you, I had Brock Purdy. Brock Purdy has played very good. We have to give him a lot of credit, but we do have to take into account how good this 49ers team is.
Yeah.
And I think if we change Brock Purdy out for the guys that even towards the middle of this table, they'd be as good or even better. So I'll have Brock Purdy at 12. At number 11, I had Daniel Jones. Similar to you, I think.
Wow, we got the same list.
So far we were very similar. I was like, damn, we have a lot of shit saying, but I mean, when you really break it down, it's somewhat, it's respectable what Daniel Jones has done, taking a New York back to the playoffs. I mean, that's something that not a lot of people would have seen. I mean, New York had a great start, but I mean, that's kind of as far as it goes. Are they going to get to the Super Bowl? No. I mean, is Daniel Jones going to really do anything? I mean, if you switch them out, like I said before, for like a Brock Purdy, maybe. I mean, but like the team's already so stacked. So I think for what he's done and the position he's at compared to the upper echelon guys, I think it's fair to say he's 11. Number 10, add Kirk Cousins.
Okay.
So this is where we started to differ a little bit. Add Kirk Cousins there, and I've never been a huge Kirk guy. I think he's had a good season. I mean, not an MVP season like you had him as a dark horse, but he's been all right. He's able to have a respectable record with the Vikings. I mean, a lot of people had them as Super Bowl contenders. I mean, he was able to fool a lot of people to think they were contenders. So I mean, that's admirable. So he gets to have my number 10 spot. Number 9, I have Dak Prescott. I think Dak
Wow.
has had very good flashes. I mean, we all go back to that game he had versus Kirk Cousins, the Vikings game, where it was a absolute blowout, where we thought that was the greatest game we ever seen from Dak in his entire career. But he's just been too inconsistent, and what a bad time for that to rear its ugly head going into a playoff run to where the Cowboys look very, you know, primed and ready to make a good run when Dak's playing poorly. He's having horrible turnovers and he's making mistakes that you don't want to see from your star quarterback. So yes, he has top 5 level talent. This is that he has it in there, but he's just too inconsistent. I don't think he's that guy. He doesn't have, that alpha takeover game type of gene in him. So that lands him at number 9. Number 8, I have Geno Smith
Above
because
Dak.
above Dak, just because I think what Geno Smith was able to do with Seattle is more impressive than what Dak has to do, and so forth with the other guys. Because I think what Geno Smith went into into the Seahawks looking to just fail. Everybody, like he said, they wrote him off, but he didn't write back. That's an iconic line to me. As soon as I saw that, I was like, this guy's got it, and he
I
has
like that.
that swagger, he has that moxie, and obviously it's for the Seahawks. I mean, he's not going to win a Super Bowl, but for him to he broke Russell Wilson's, I think, franchise record for a single season. I think passing yards like that, to be able to do that. I mean, we all remember Russell Wilson, Legion of Boom. Like, this is to be able to do that
Yeah.
for being Geno Smith, for being a guy that not
Nobody
who
expected.
really no, who really thought that was a possibility. So I hold that in high regard. So he deserves that number 8 spot. And I think even though he did take a bit of a dip towards the middle of the season, I mean, to be fair, it's the Seahawks. There's only so much you can really do. I mean, he's,
It did
he's
get into
not
the playoff. Nobody
he
expected the
got him to the
Seahawks.
playoffs. I mean,
Yeah.
like, who really thought? Did Seattle fans really think they're going to make the playoffs? I mean, and they
No.
won that. They won their trade. They got pretty good picks for Russell Wilson. So be happy. I mean, you
Yeah.
made the playoffs and you got good picks. So
Yep.
Geno Smith at number 8. Number 7, my number 7, number 6 to me were almost interchangeable. But number 7, I had Trevor Lawrence.
Okay.
I
You're
think
the
Trevor
same.
Lawrence he's ascending.
Yeah.
He's starting to become that guy that we all expected him to be. I mean, this guy's a supreme winner. He doesn't look like it. I mean, when you hear this guy talk, he seems like a very chilled out, chill guy. But when it comes to on the football field, he's an absolute assassin. This guy is a dominant winner, and we're starting to see that finally start to translate a little bit, because we always knew he was this good, but now it's starting to translate on the field more, because I mean, the Jags were able to make the playoffs. I didn't think they could do it, but they proved me wrong, and partial of that is due to that man. So he deserves the number 7 spot. Number 6, at Justin Herbert. And
Hey.
I didn't think we'd be having Justin Herbert here. I mean, it was surprising, because it looked like the Chargers were dead in the water, that they were going to miss the playoffs again, but they were able just to get by the skin of their teeth, which is admirable. It's impressive, and I gotta give a lot of it to Justin Herbert, because this team has been banged up, and Justin Herbert himself has been banged up a little bit too. But for him to go through all of that adversity, and to, for all the people that I remember, you came on here and just, I remember it was during the Tua brigade, where, it was Tua and fuck everybody else that
Yeah.
was compared to him, that he was going to get and put in with a lot of unknown guys. He was going to get on a list of people that can't make the playoffs, and now he was going to be one of them. But he was
He
able to
made
do
it.
that. He made it. So he deserves that number 6 spot. So that's where I have him.
Okay.
Number 5, I have Jalen Hurts.
Okay.
What looked to be almost a for sure MVP for Jalen Hurts. Unfortunately, he ended up getting injured towards the end there, which kind of, for me, kills his MVP run. But it's still very admirable and impressive what he was able to do with this Eagles team. I mean, like That's not like a broken record. Who expected this Eagles team to be as good as they are now? To to be the one seed, to have a bye. That we don't. They were a wild card team last season. Now they don't. They're not even to play a wild card at all. They get a bye. So for the impressive start of the season they had, Jalen Hurts is always going to be class. I think he's going to, still play good in the playoffs. Hopefully he's able to get back to somewhat 100%. He won't be, perfectly, but even Jalen Hurts at 90% is still unbelievable. So I think he deserves the number 5 spot. So number 4, this is where you're probably gonna get the biggest reaction. Number 4, I have Patrick Mahomes.
Oh my god.
At number 4. And look,
At 4?
There is such an embarrassment of riches at quarterback, especially when we're talking about the playoffs. We're talking about the best of the best, and we're talking the finest margins here. So if some people think it's super disrespectful to have Patrick Mahomes at 4 compared to the guys that he's
It
going
is
up
fine
against,
margins. I agree.
it's fine, the finest of margins. And it just comes down to the fact that I think Patrick Mahomes, as dominant as he is and as great as he is, he's prone to mistakes. He is a bit of a highlight reel quarterback. He always kind of looks for it. Yeah, he can do the simple things right, and he's kind of proven that too. That he doesn't need Tyreek Hill to be able to go make these crazy and just throw it down the field. Like, Tyreek's down there, I'm just going to throw it. He's able to change his game up, and that's admirable. But when we're talking about the upper echelons, the best of the best comparing to the, I just don't think he's better than the guys that I have above him. Not to say that he's not good, because Patrick Mahomes is very good. But when we're talking about the upper echelon here, I just think he's number 4.
Allen? Josh Allen?
Josh
Allen, bro.
Speaking of Josh Allen, number 3, I have Joshua Patrick Allen.
What are you
And
going to
let
say
me
about
just
him?
say,
You're going to say he's mistake prone too?
he is prone to mistake, but I have not seen. I think he's the most dominant quarterback I've seen in a very long time. He's prone to mistakes. Like, I compared him very much to Brett Favre, but this guy is so dominant. He can just take a game over. He reminds me a bit of Shaq. This guy can just what he can offer you in the rushing, to where, like you said, he's like a linebacker just going at you, running through people. He's unstoppable, and he has the best arm in football. No one can throw further, faster than this guy. This guy can literally hit anywhere on the field that you need him to do. He's that explosive. The only downside to his game that he's prone to mistakes. Somewhat similar to Patrick Mahomes. He reminds me a little bit of Patrick Mahomes from last season. I mean, we saw Patrick Mahomes be very uncharacteristic, have a lot of picks, and we've seen that from Josh Allen. He had more picks than we liked and some mistakes in high rash moments. But when we talk about straight dominance, when he's on it, we saw what he did against your Dolphins. I mean, I won't forget that I like bringing up because you literally would not say his name. You would not. It was like Harry Potter or Voldemort. You would not say his name just because of the masterclass he dropped on you. And God have mercy. It was like a ravishing. But enough with Josh Allen. He's at my number 4. Oh, he's at my number 3. I'm sorry. Number 2, I have GOAT. I have Thomas Edward Patrick Brady Jr. And what is there really to be said? It's Tom Brady. This guy can make nothing out of something. Something out of nothing. He could do everything. Like I said, he could make a blind man see. He can make a handicapped man walk. This guy has saved absolute nothingness. I've seen the Bucks have the worst 3 quarters of my entire life, and then out of nothing, out of the fourth quarter, explode and make them somehow win. This guy can make a team, basically bring a dead team back to life. That's what Tom Brady can do. And when we're talking, maybe I hold him a bit high regard because, especially going into the playoffs, we're talking about playoff quarterbacks. This is the greatest playoff quarterback ever, the greatest quarterback ever.
Agree with that.
So if we're talking about strictly going into the playoffs, this is it. This is he's at the top. And especially his IQ. I mean, he has possibly realistically the highest IQ of quarterbacks ever, but he just gets beat out by one guy. And that, to me, is the guy that's going to be winning it all, leading his team to glory, Joshua Lee Burrow. I love everything about this guy.
But Joshua, that's the thing. That is,
Joseph. Joseph Lee Burrow. Joseph Lee Burrow does everything right. I think he doesn't make any mistakes. He has one of the highest IQs and quarterbacks in the league. He can rush. He can get out and get you some yards that you need. And he's as accurate and he has the arm to make any throw you need. He might not have the exact, arm like a Josh Allen, or he might not be able to make the spectacular plays like a Patrick Mahomes, but he has the blend of it all. That he has the IQ like Brady. He can make the right plays when he needs to. He can read defenses up. I don't think there's a guy other than Tom Brady that can read a defense better than Joe Burrow at this very moment.
Patty Mahomes, bro.
Not Patty Mahomes. Don't not compare it to Joe Burrow. Absolutely not. Joe Burrow's owned him, but that's beside the fact. We're not. Well, I'm not getting drawn into dissing on Patrick Mahomes, but Joe Burrow can just do it all to me, and that's why I have him leading the Bengals to a Super Bowl. So that rounds out my list. Joe Burrow at 1.
So
And
run
to
back through it. Yeah.
fast track it, number 14, Skylar Thompson. 13, Snoop Huntley. 12 is Brock Purdy. Number 11 is Daniel Jones. Number 10 is Kirk Cousins. Number 9, Dak Prescott. 8, Geno Smith. Number 7, Trevor Lawrence. Number 6, Justin Herbert. Number 5, Jalen Hurts. Number 4, Patrick Mahomes. Number 3, Josh Allen. Number 2 is Tom Brady. And number 1 is Joe Burrow.
Oh man, it's look. I mean, it's a respectable list because it's so fine margins. I mean, if you put one guy above another, I mean, you can make the argument as to why it's like a guy you could have a guy over another guy because it's so close between these two guys. I don't think you can really justify putting Mahomes at 4, in my opinion.
I think it's justifiable. I think it's fair.
I think that's a little bit crazy, but I'll respect it at the end of the day because, whatever. We'll see it. We'll see. Come February when the Super Bowl is happening, if your boy Joe Burrow is there or if Mahomes is there, and that'll probably decide who should really be number 1 on this list.
We'll see. Realistically, my 1 and 2 for me are meeting in the Super Bowl. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I got Brock Purdy making it, and he's number
Brock
12.
Purdy.
So.
Yeah, you have Brock Purdy having an early start to his GOAT career. I mean, realistically, having a win in a Super Bowl, his first, as a rookie. That's a good start.
It is a good start, but I don't think he's ever going to be on a better team than this Niners team. I'll say that.
That's fair to say. What a better situation to go into.
But I think this might, not necessarily a perfect segue, but it is a segue nonetheless. We were just talking about Thomas Edward Patrick Brady. What better way to talk about him than talk about his matchup? Potentially, for you think on their Super Bowl run, but for me, it's their matchup against the Cowboys. And in our prediction video, both of us did predict a Buccaneer win. Tom Brady leading the Bucs to a win against the Cowboys. So we don't need to answer that question per se. But the question that does need to be answered a little bit, your thoughts on this matchup, and then ultimately why you think the Bucs will be able to get it done and beat the Cowboys and make Skip Bayless a very unhappy man. But also,
it's if we're gonna talk about Skip Bayless, this is like the most like it's a bit of a
matchup he's dreading.
This is a matchup he hates, but he also loves because Brady wins, so that's good, but his Cowboys lose, so it's like or his Cowboys wins and Brady loses, so it's like this is the ultimate battle of fate within his heart. But
yeah,
to the game itself, I think it really just comes down to the Cowboys have not been playing as good as we expected them to be, especially Dak Prescott. Their defense hasn't looked as dominant as it has before. I think that they've been struggling a little bit, and not to say the Buccaneers are spectacular in those instances either, but I think the Cowboys they like to make games very difficult for themselves. I think that's something that's been swung around a lot of Cowboys fans, that they don't know really how to win games easily. They don't like to win games very easily. And with a team like the Bucks, that's very dangerous because you're talking about possibly getting to, like I said, getting to the fourth quarter, and it's still a close game. If this is a close game by the fourth quarter, it's might as well be over because that's when the Bucks team actually starts playing football. That's when you see the surgence of the GOAT, where he takes over the game, and I think that's what's going to happen. I think it's going to be a close game going into the fourth, and that's when you just see the finest margins where Brady's able to separate. We'll see a game-winning drive. That's what I think this game's going to come down to because the Cowboys are going to be very tough. I mean, the Cowboys have given the Bucks, very good runs for the money. This season and the season before. I mean, they've always tend to be a little bit of shootouts in a sense, but I think with the pressure of the Cowboys and them not playing up to their standards and keeping games very close, making it hard on themselves, it plays into a little bit more of, I guess you could say, the strengths of the Bucks that they're able to win very close games, and they're able to win games that they don't have any mind winning. So that's what I'm gonna lean toward the Bucks, and I think they're gonna get it done by a very close game. I could see this one being won by a game-winning drive field goal.
So drop a score.
I were to drop a score,
We're going to Vegas.
say going to Vegas with this. Say 24-27.
Okay. I mean, obviously, I agree with a lot of the points you made. Obviously, we both picked the Bucks to win the game. I think that given the way that the Cowboys have played recently, first of all, they're coming off of an absolutely terrible Week 18 loss, in which they were playing a lot of starters. They weren't treating that like it was just a random game. The Bucks, they lost their last game as well, but they pulled Tom Brady. He wasn't playing the full game. They rested starters. They didn't really care about the game. It was already wrapped up with that they were going to be the 4 seed. They couldn't go up or down. It didn't matter. The Cowboys, they were playing that game like they wanted to win, obviously, because they had potentially the chance to win the division if the Eagles had lost, which they didn't anyway. So that's why they're here. But the Cowboys, they didn't know that the Eagles were going to win, the way that they did. So they needed to win that game. And they played absolute piss poor against a backup QB, Sam Howell, and the Washington Commanders, who aren't making the play. They didn't make the playoffs.
They did not make the playoffs.
So that is not necessarily what you want to see going into a big game against the greatest quarterback of all time. And this is a Bucks team that, although they are not the same Bucks that we knew from their Super Bowl run or even last season, but this is a Bucks team that is playing better football recently. Towards the end of this season, they're playing better football, and they're getting some players back, from injury. I think Winfield and things of that nature. They're all going to be back, and I think Bucks are getting healthy at the right time, and you have Tom Brady on your side. I think, like you said, if this is a close game, come the fourth quarter, I think the Bucks will end up taking this game. And there's nothing to lead me to believe that it won't be a close game in the fourth quarter. I think we have seen Dak make mistakes against every defense, pretty much. I mean, he's a mistake-prone quarterback. So there's nothing to lead me to believe that Dak will truly dominate this game in the way that he would have to for the Bucks to be out of the game by the fourth quarter. I think Dak makes a couple mistakes, like he's been making. I think that they're not able to probably run the ball the way that they would like to. I think they're going to try to be a little bit more run dominant, and I don't know if the Bucks are going to let the Bucks. They haven't been the same rushing defense we've seen in the past, but I don't know if they really respect what Dak has been putting on tape recently. I think they're going to try to make sure they stop Tony Pollard and stop Zeke. If they're able to do that and you force Dak to throw the ball to beat you, I think you're setting yourself up for success at that point because Dak is bound to make a mistake. Whether it's a pick six or just a normal interception, a fumble of some sort, it's bound to happen. And so that's just on the offensive end. And with the Cowboys, their defense, it's a phenomenal defense, but they've been looking a little bit not fraudulent, but they've not been the same defense that we know that they can be recently. I mean, they gave up 40 to the Jags. They've been giving up, large amounts of points, in recent games. And a lot of that is because Dak has been making mistakes, which puts them in a short field, and that's not making it any easier for the defense. But this defense would have to play up and bail out their offense a couple times. And you just can't win playoff games like that. The playoffs in the NFL is such fine margins. And I trust the Bucks to make less mistakes than the Cowboys. I mean, Dak on the road, hostile atmosphere in Tampa. That crowd is going to be going crazy. And one stat that you don't want to overlook here is that the Cowboys this season are 1-4 on grass fields. Tampa,
Grass
it's a
fields.
grass field. They do not play well on grass. That doesn't help their defense perform. They lost to the Jags, gave up 40 points on grass. They give up large amounts of points on
That's kind
grass.
of a funny thing.
It, it, it's
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 kind of funny.
it's a random statistic, but there's also science behind it as to their defense is not able to do all the things that they like to do in terms of their movement, their cuts, the way that they play on grass. They can do it when they're playing at home, but they can't do it on grass. So I think that's something not to be overlooked. And ultimately, all of these factors combined with the fact you're facing Tom Brady in the playoffs. I mean, I can't bet against them yet at this point in the playoffs. The
Yet.
Cowboys, I don't trust Dak. Cowboys notoriously choke in the playoffs. There's nothing to lead me to believe that they will win this game. They should win this game. On paper, they're the better team. Bucks are not a good football team this season. They should win this game. Bucks literally have a losing record. With all of that being said, I think that the Bucks get it done because I'm not betting against Tom Brady in this moment, and I think this Bucks team is probably a little bit better than their record shows that they are. They have the star power, but things haven't gone their way this season. I wouldn't want to play them in the playoffs. The Cowboys are the ones that do have to play them. It's unfortunate. It's going to be a very close game. I'm going to put a score on it. I'm going to say that the Bucks win this game 30-27, game-winning field goal.
30.
Yeah, 30-27.
Damn.
I think it's going to be a high-scoring game, 30-27.
I
mean,
mean,
you said 27-24. I just said 30-27. I mean, it's not.
I mean, do what I try to think. Have the Bucks even scored 30 points this whole season?
They're doing
I'm
it.
trying to think, but
I think Mike Evans is gonna have a good game.
I fucking hope so. I mean, we saw a little bit of resurgence from of Mike Evans a little bit, against what was it, Carolina, I think, right?
Yeah.
That were like we said, it's like Mike Evans just realized, well, I can just run past people. Who would have thought Mike Evans?
Yeah. I just don't know if I trust the Cowboys necessarily. They should win this game. If they do win this game, I won't be shocked because they're the better football team. But I mean,
Take it to Vegas.
I don't know if I trust the Cowboys, and that's pretty much what I think. I just don't know if I trust the Cowboys, and that's why I'm leaning towards the Bucks.
Yeah, I mean,
Dak might go ahead and prove me wrong, but
I mean, yeah,
Dak has never performed that well on the in the playoffs in general, and then you add him being on the road with that as well. I mean, I don't know.
I think before his the 49ers fiasco of last season, Dak actually played fairly well in the playoffs, but I think his whole character in general, like his whole football, like just him as a player, he hasn't been that. He hasn't been a top 5 quarterback. He hasn't been good enough.
Yeah.
So but like I said, he could, maybe we see the Vikings friggin' Dak Prescott appearance, but we'll have to see.
Yeah, we will have to see. I think is there any other talking points you want to talk about with the that game in general?
I think that wraps it up for me.
Well, I think that's the last topic that we were planning on talking about here. So I think I'll go ahead. Normally I'm the one that says my final words first, and then you just kind of piggyback. So you go ahead and you talk about your final words
I'm a
here.
piggybacker, no, but I mean, other my final words would just be, thanking you guys for
Exactly.
for all the support that you've been giving us on all our reels and all our shorts and all our videos. I mean, we really appreciate it. We really see every single, even if it's one subscriber a day, we always notice it. We always check. So, I mean, from just both of us, we really appreciate every single one of you.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, we obviously appreciate the continued support. To be honest, I think this was a good episode. I think that we talked about a lot of interesting talking points here. So that leads me to my next point. Comment down below what you thought about our talking points. Were we wrong about some things? Were we right about some things? Are we idiots? Are we smart? Let us know in the
Are
comments down
we
below.
idiot? Well, most people are gonna think we're probably idiots, but that's fine. It's kind of funny.
Put your top quarterbacks in the playoffs down below. Let us know. Let us know if our list was good or bad. We just want to hear back from you what you thought about everything we talked about. And, I think without further ado, we can go ahead and wrap this one up.
Yeah, I think we'll wrap it up.
So I just wanted to thank everyone checking out episode 39. Next episode's going to be 40. So that's it's always nice to hit a number like that.
40.
But we appreciate everyone checking out this episode of the Shooter Straight Podcast, episode 39. Your co-host, Zach.
I'm your co-host, G.
And we'll see y'all next time for episode 40. Peace.